individual interest in many various different things. So you have a copy of some of the, so the most recent education was just like the most recent comments that we've received on those items. They don't need to be read out loud, it's just for you all to have this part of the record. They'll go into the record of the meeting, but they don't have to be read. And then, this is just real, I don't know if the administration should mention it or not, but it's just the opinion.
I've been thinking about it.
So it's just real stuff. We're not, it's not on the agenda to discuss it. We do have a couple that are on here. I'm safe to be around. I think I've had multiple negative steps, but I'm not stepping around. I don't like worrying.
No, I'm like jealous.
So nice. I had to get my money ready. Won't come back.
Oh, I can't.
It was nice. I was in the tropics. It was nice.
What's going on over in Iraq?
They get ready for this moment.
Okay.
So then Cameron for Prime Minister will be given authority to get all the offenders. He said that they made a mistake. He put a Wi-Fi shop on that, and they made him over $1 billion.
Wow.
And he said they already adjusted the rate.
Okay.
So we wait for the shooting like anyway.
Yes, this is shooting. And I just kind of stored and processed
May want to clarify.
No, Marvin, Jim Delaney, good to see you again. How's Greg going? See sign popping up. We got one in black. Did you send it?
That's a good thing about having a camp.
Oh, yeah, no, get away.
Get away quick. And plus, yeah, first I got a dog out there.
You go first. And then you can follow up and see if they need that. I heard all that. See, we get dinner? We get dinner. Oh, man. I've heard no that.
This is what created to be able to do this.
All of us know him. His name was.
Yes. And it was in 2014.
What was at her house? Y'all ready? You not ready? Yeah, we got it for him. Okay, good. Hey. We're waiting for Roy to come back. Around when we started. Sure.
Mr. Clerk, let's go ahead and get started. I know that Roy stepped out, or Commissioner Burrell stepped out. We might as well get started with the preliminary activities. Welcome everyone to the Caddo Parish Commission meeting. It is 3:40 on August 18th. We're glad to have you all here. Forgive us for being a little late. We had as you all might imagine, we have a lot of public comments. We had to sort through all of those to get those organized for our meeting today. But Mr. Clerk, we're ready for roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Present.
Commissioner Taliaferro. Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Present.
All right, you have 10 of 12 members present. That does constitute a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Johnson, would you please lead us in a prayer, and Commissioner Chavez, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Everybody please stand.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today first to say thank you. Thank you for letting us see a brand new day. Father, we ask that you give us the knowledge to lead as we go through our agenda and go through the issues of Caddo Parish. Father, we ask that you will continue to bless the men and women that serve our city, law enforcement. We ask that you will bless the people that protect our boundaries of the United States and the free world, the armed forces members. Father, we ask that you will continue to bless us as we live day to day. In this, your son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
If everybody in our chamber would please face the flag. If you are a veteran or military, you may render a hand to brow salute. Repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for that prayer, and thank you, Commissioner Chavez, for the pledge. Mr. Clerk, do we have any agenda additions?
We do have two potential agenda additions today to consider. The first item is a potential agenda addition of adding Chris Chandler of the American Millennium Project as a visitor. The second item that you have that I'm aware of under agenda additions is a potential agenda addition to authorize the use of already approved American Rescue Plan funds for Grambling State University versus Northwestern State University for Shreveport football game.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Just to remind everyone, for an agenda addition to occur, there must be a motion and a second, and then 100% agreement by all the commissioners to expand the agenda to incorporate that item. So we'll take the, Commissioner Jackson, you on the board?
Yeah, Mr. President, I was gonna make a motion to add them both, but I don't even see Chris Chandler here. Is he here? I was gonna make a motion to add them both.
Well, I think we might want to take them one at a time.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so Mr.
Well, at this time, I'll make a motion to authorize the already approved ARP funding for Grambling State University versus Northwestern State University Shreveport football game at this time.
Okay, so we have a motion to expand the agenda to include the Grambling State Northwest Louisiana football game funding. We had a motion by Commissioner Jackson, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Would you like to comment on that, Commissioner Jackson?
No, sir. I'll just at the public hearing time, I asked the athletic director to come.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so let's vote then on expanding this agenda per.
Public comment. Public hearing.
Public
hearing.
Public hearing first. You gotta open up the public hearing.
Open the
Oh,
public
sorry,
hearing.
thank you. We need to have a public hearing. We'll open the floor. Is there anyone to speak here in support of this agenda addition, proposed agenda addition?
Good afternoon, everyone. We've been rolling since about 8 o'clock this morning. Came down to the press conference for the game. So the Grambling State University, versus Northwestern State University on September 10th in week 2. I want to thank, of course, Commissioner Stephen Jackson, Commissioner Lyndon Johnson for the opportunity to come here and just speak about the importance of the game, of course, with these two great institutions who are all, or both rather, within a 90-minute earshot of this great city. We look forward to the game. Of course, we appreciate you all's support. We think that the game will be a pretty hot ticket, specifically in the I-20 corridor of the state, so we're really excited about it. Of course, that leaves the opportunity for certain needs to be able to ensure that the game goes off without a hitch. Most notably, of course, the security, and that is police and the emergency response personnel. So we are appreciative of all of your efforts. We appreciate you all's consideration. And before I go to my seat, I also would be remiss if I didn't extend hearty thank yous from our president, Richard Gallo. So thank you all again. We appreciate, again, your leadership, Commissioner Jackson, your leadership, Commissioner Johnson, and your consideration of the full body of commissioners. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else to speak either for or against this proposed agenda addition? Commissioner Jackson, did you want to comment further?
Well, I would just say I think that this is going to be a great revenue generator. These dollars were already set aside through the American Rescue Plan for, there was a section just for football games. And so this request would come from there. They would work with the administration to work out what they need to get access to these funds. And so that's basically where this derived from.
Okay.
And I don't think we will meet again, or it would be very close to. We would only be a week out if we waited, because we don't meet again until the 6th, and the game is on the 10th. And so pretty short window of time, and just another way for the parish to put our name out, and administration will work out the details. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. We ready to vote on Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to be added as a sponsor to this, since it was something I came up with in ARP. But I want to make sure that, I know when we talked about it in ARP, that the money could not go straight to a university. It would have to go through basically like the promoter of the event, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to make sure that we follow the right guidelines.
We'll just have to get with our consultants to see how we can,
Okay.
get everything put together.
Is that it, Commissioner Johnson?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. We ready to vote?
Mr. President, I'm on the board.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Stormy Watts.
Thank you, sir. I would like to be added as a sponsor also.
Okay, and Commissioner Burrell as well.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Jackson, you back?
Oh, no.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Seeing no one else, let's vote on expanding the agenda or not expanding the agenda to include this item.
Okay, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition. And that item will be added, that will be under your new business at the last item of your new business section.
Mr. President,
Okay.
just a quick point of clarification. I noticed Mr. Scott noticed President Rick Gallo, the rule that was created to add an agenda addition by unanimous consent was Rick Gallo's bill. So if it had failed by one vote, you could go back and tell him that it was his bill that caused it to fail.
Thank you. Thank you for that parliamentarian footnote. All right, so that one has been addressed. We are now, do we have a motion or a second for the other item that was proposed for an agenda addition?
Mr. President.
Which one is that?
This is the one regarding adding Chris Chandler of American Millennial Project.
If I could interject, I didn't see Mr. Chandler in the audience, so I just reached out to see, and I think he had been coordinating with Commissioner Taliaferro, and I think they had perhaps some cross communication about what date it was. So we will look to have this added at the next work session.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. We are ready to move on.
Okay, that brings us, let's see, that brings us back to the citizens' comments, where citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning are asked to fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and return it to the president or the clerk of commission, and comments are limited to 3 minutes. Now, again, I did mention there that is any issue other than zoning. Those issues that are related to zoning will be heard, but they will be heard during a public hearing on zoning. So I just want to clarify that in case there's anybody wondering, as we do have a number of people here to comment on a zoning matter today.
Okay, are we ready? First on the list is Miss Lois Mayberry. Welcome. Is it Reverend Mayberry? Pastor Mayberry?
It's Lois Mayberry. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to address the commission. I'm Lois Mayberry, Acting Executive Director and Board Chair of Settled In Village, a nonprofit that owns property in West Caddo Parish and is working to build tiny houses as affordable quality residences. I've been a volunteer with Hope House for the past 12 years. Hope House is a day shelter serving those who experience homelessness, many who are my friends. I've also volunteered and serve on the board of St. Luke's Episcopal Mobile Medical Ministry, which provides free medical care to those uninsured and underinsured. The friends I've made with my work with Hope House and St. Luke's have made me aware that the need for quality, affordable housing for those with limited incomes. When researching options utilized in other areas, I discovered Community First Village in Austin, Texas. They developed a community setting of tiny homes to provide quality housing and the support needed for those struggling to exist on a limited income. After attending the training provided by Community First, along with others interested in their concept, we began meeting in 2019 to form a nonprofit that would build a tiny house village incorporated as Settled In Village. We have been researching land that would support our vision, and in June 2022, we purchased Country Living Properties on Cook Road in Bethany. This 48-acre property is a mobile home park that has been there for over 20 years and was operated as a personal business by the previous owner. There are 41 mobile homes on the property with 20 vacant lots. It has an independent water and sewer system maintained by our organization, and we also pay for waste removal. Mail is delivered there. The property meets our needs by having the necessary infrastructure to support building multiple tiny homes and is outside the authority of the Metropolitan Planning Commission and is zoned for multi-residential housing. Settled In Village will provide permanent, independent, and individual houses for our clients. Each resident will have a tiny home that will house individuals or couples. They will rent on a monthly basis governed by a standard rental agreement. A vetting process will occur that will include a criminal background check, credit check, and extensive interview. Residents will be responsible for providing their own basic needs of food and clothing. They will be supported by living in a community setting where they can share the strengths of their neighbors and provide strength to their neighbors. The model of providing tiny house community settings is a concept accepted in other parts of the country. This would be Louisiana's first tiny house village, offering permanent, supportive, long-term housing in a community setting. In the village setting, the necessary services of case management, medical care, and psychological support will be offered on site. Needed affordable recreation activities will be accessible. Our vision is to provide 60 tiny homes, which each home will have a bed, mini kitchen, small refrigerator, microwave, sink, cabinet space, small desk area, bathroom consisting of a shower and a toilet and a closet. Homes will be grouped together with each home having a front porch for socialization. There will be a common gathering space designated for socialization, group meals, and interactions. Plans are to build a group kitchen and laundry facility when the need arises. We have plans to renovate a vacant mobile home currently on the property to serve as a central gathering space with 2 individual private offices, storage, and bathrooms. Support services such as medical, psychological, substance abuse treatment and prevention, and life skills training will be able to use this space. There's acreage for an organic garden with chickens. Both the residents and others would benefit from the produce and eggs produced. Each client must actively participate in a program of personal growth. Case managers will formulate individual needs coordination plans with the client. Based on the needs, coordinated care would be arranged for each client, as well as utilized to provide structured classes to support the clients in their lifestyle choices. The areas that will be addressed are personal development, vocational development, substance abuse prevention, interpersonal skills development, personal and spiritual development, and community involvement. I hope this description of the plans for Settled-In Village clarify the improvement we plan to make to the current property of 10550 Cook Road. I could address any questions.
I'm sorry, we can't ask questions
Okay.
during public comment. Thank you, Lois. We appreciate your feedback. Okay, we have about 14 additional public comment requests. Most are associated with resolutions 40 and/or 41. So you all bear with us as we work through this. If you just want to, you'd be limited to 3 minutes. That's your max. If you just want to stand up and come to the front and say you support the words of a previous speaker, that's fine too. But everybody has a right to speak who'd like to speak. So we'll start with Mayor Jim. How do you pronounce your last name, Jim?
Galambus?
Mayor Jim Galambus. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Appreciate it, and ladies. I'm here representing the town of Blanchard in that we hope that we have no votes from the commission for this resolution. Over the past 7 years that I've been mayor, we have done over 25 annexations, the majority being of commercial nature. Every one of these has benefited not only the town of Blanchard and its citizens, but also benefited the tax dollars of Caddo Parish. So with that being said, we also follow in our meetings 100%, we follow the state statute for open meetings, for introduction of the annexation, and a public hearing in the following month to hear any public comments. In my 7 years as mayor, we've only had one opposition to an annexation. We follow the procedure, and we have no issues, and I don't believe the commission has had or heard of any issues, or has our commissioner, Todd Hopkins. So with that, we would like for this commission to have a no vote for this resolution 40. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your service to Blanchard. Mr. Bart Little. Hello, Mr. Little. Welcome to the commission.
Thank you. I also encourage a no vote for this. I was an employee of the city of Shreveport for 25 years, and I have the pleasure of working all over Northwest Louisiana. The towns that we work in here in Caddo Parish function well. I don't see an advantage to adding bureaucracy to their level. They're easy to work with, they're good to work with. You can go into these towns and find out what you need, and we're able to conduct business efficiently and work together to solve problems. And I don't think that we need to add another layer of bureaucracy to these entities and the municipalities we have in Caddo Parish.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Mr. Kenneth Shaw.
Hello, I'm the mayor of the village of Ida, and I too would ask for a no vote on this resolution 40. We've had 2 annexations in the 10 years I've been mayor. Both of them were commercial. And being on I-49, if we're not allowed to annex these businesses coming in at the exits, provide them water and sewer, why would, as a town, why would you want to do that if we're not allowed to get some of the revenue from it? And this bill opposes any economic development on I-49. It would be detrimental to it. So I ask for y'all's no vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Shaw, and thank you for your service to Ida.
Thank you.
Ms. Jennifer McKay.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Jennifer McKay. I'm counsel for the town of Greenwood. I'm here today to express Greenwood's opposition to resolutions 40 and 41, and also to try to clarify the record on some misstatements that were made earlier this week concerning some of the issues. First, I'm going to speak to 40 of 2022, which is the annexation resolution. Greenwood followed all the requirements of the law and beyond concerning the most recent annexation, which I think is the impetus for this resolution. For example, Greenwood published the notice in its legal organ 3 times when the law only required a single publication. It appears that this resolution recognizes Greenwood did everything that was required to do under the law to try to help its town grow and the businesses that seek to locate there. And in recognition of this is an attempt to rewrite a law that already has a significant amount of responsibility and burdens on the town to make sure everyone has notice and can provide input. The law already provides that there is a system in place to challenge any decision that is deemed unreasonable through the court system. Should the courts decide that Greenwood or any other town located in Caddo Parish or subject to this law, which is statewide, would make any unreasonable decisions. Therefore, Greenwood opposes the Commission's attempt to dictate to all municipalities within its boundaries as to how to grow themselves and and the attempt to seek to fundamentally alter a system that has been in place and approved by the Louisiana legislature for decades. On to Resolution 41 of 2022. Greenwood's work session meeting was held on August 11th. It was well attended by many citizens that were there, and we had an experienced consultant, David Yates, who aids Greenwood and other water systems to answer any questions that they had or concerns they had about recent water issues. Greenwood allowed the citizens attending to ask as many questions as they wanted about recent water issues and express concerns. The meeting lasted well over 2 hours, with the most significant amount of this time dedicated to the water consultant's presentations, the citizens' questions and concerns, and Greenwood responding to the questions and concerns and suggestions. Greenwood allowed its citizens to express any concerns concerning the water issue without the imposition of any time limitation. In other words, Greenwood was completely transparent and allowed any citizen who chose to attend the meeting of August 11th as much time as they wanted to make any inquiries, suggestions, and express concerns. And I tell you all this because there was some allegation of the lack of transparency. That is just not true. And it is not true that they did not listen to feedback, because they allowed people to talk as long as they wanted in a meeting that lasted 2.5 hours. So to suggest that we are...
Time has expired, Ms. McKay.
Motion to extend 3 minutes.
Second.
Thank you. To extent there's a lack of transparency simply is not true. Further on the transparency issue, Greenwood timely mailed out all notices required by the state. In addition to that, they have an information line that citizens can call and get information about water issues. Based on a recent request, the system has been recently modified so that as soon as the town receives a LDH notice, that information is going to be put on this line. Also, the recent challenges that Greenwood had was primarily due to the excessive heat and some design issues in its system. But simply put, again, transparency was not an issue. The state notices were mailed out. There's a call line. In addition, any citizen that wants to can be put on Greenwood's automated phone system that's provided through Homeland Security, and they receive information almost immediately upon receipt by Greenwood of the water issue. So if they have a phone number, they want to provide it, they also get an automated call. Again, transparency is not an issue. There were some questions about something that happened 19 months ago in the ice storm, and we believe the statements there weren't accurate. At the end of the day, the most important thing for you to know is Greenwood has been transparent, and they have been responsive, and citizens have allowed to have their input. I think I'm going to run out of time again, but in terms of donations to Greenwood, we've appreciated everything that you did, but there have been no donations to Greenwood for water issues of any significance anytime recently. There was a vote to approve a $750,000 water line extension that was sought by Commissioner Epperson, but that money has never been given to us. The CEA has never been provided to us, and there simply has been no water system investment by Caddo in Greenwood's system. Now, if you're interested in doing that, we will be happy to evaluate our needs and submit funding requests. But the resolutions that are being presented are basically burdens that do not seek to address a real problem. Transparency has existed. Greenwood is addressing its water issues. Every system that has a water system has issues. And in terms of the annexation, again, it is just going to make the town's burdens, its and every town in Caddo, more onerous. And as you add unnecessary burdens, it takes away from Greenwood's ability to provide for its citizens. It does not enhance it. And therefore, we ask that you reject both measures.
Thank
The
you,
clerk,
Ms.
if I can have just one more second, the clerk asked me to let you know in the audience that we have her cards. And if you have a water question in the future, if you get a card from me, you can call her and we can have that addressed.
Thank you, Ms. McKay.
Thank you.
Ms. Sharon Moore? Sharon B. Moore? Welcome, Ms. Moore.
Thank you. Hello to everyone. My name is Sharon Baylor Moore, and I live in the Timberline subdivision. I've been a nurse for 35 plus years, and I have lived in Timberline subdivision since 1996, and I've had an ongoing issue with the Town of Greenwood Water Department services. Once I moved there, I was talking to my neighbors, and I realized that they had problems that was occurring same as I had. So they too had called the department to resolve some issues. As much to dismay, a representative was asked to come to our National Night Out celebration to address some of the community issues that was going on, that we were experiencing. The first thing was brown sediment that was in the water. The response of Town of Greenwood was that they were working on these issues and on that issue, and they was aware of the problem, and the reason for the problem that existed was they were working on pipes, and as a result, some of the sediment accidentally fell into the pipes. Another reason was they had broken pipes and that they had to replace and repair them. At the meeting, the neighborhood was asked to be patient and that the problems would eventually be eliminated. After a while, seeing some improvement and then also the improvements going down, we asked, let me take my time here. After the meeting in the neighborhood, we asked that they would take their time and be patient. After a while of seeing some improvement, okay, they did go up and went down. Eventually, what I wind up doing, long story short, I wind up purchasing a rain salt filtration system because I never knew when I would have this brown sediment in my household. And as far as health reasons are concerned, I wanted to make sure I wasn't sick because I wanted to make sure that I could take care of my kids and be able to go to work. The second thing that we had was an odor that came from my sink. I was instructed to just run some water and that would eliminate the odor. For a little extra security, what I wind up doing is putting a teaspoon of bleach in the sink to help kill the smell. So the next issue that I had was low water pressure. When I moved to Timberline subdivision, I had great water pressure, and I noticed my water pressure suddenly started reducing. The response from Town of Greenwood was they are in the process of exchanging smaller pipes to larger ones, and they asked us to be patient, and this would help the water supply. After the problem persisted, they decided to check my pipes. And they concluded to a couple of things. They told me that a number of houses served between the Town of Greenwood and to my house was increasing. And every time a new house was built between Greenwood and my house, they had to tap into the line. And that caused a decreased pressure at my residence. So to increase my water pressure, they asked me to get another water meter. that would resolve my issue. So the things I've done to decrease my water frustration, I've gotten a rain filtration system. I keep bottles of water to drink when the brown sediment shows up. If there is a boil advisory, I have water there as a backup.
Stand for 30 seconds.
Okay. And then the town of Greenwood is in violation of treating the treatment techniques if they don't meet those recommendations. So in conclusion, I'm a healthcare worker, and I see, everybody sees COVID, monkeypox, bacterial infection, viruses, and many other diseases that requires extra health interventions to help keep us healthy. I feel that clean water and a continuation of keeping water clean should not be a difficult task. And as far as resolution number 40, the town of Greenwood to annex additional property to to be responsible for that, I think it should not occur, because the focus on the ongoing issues that have continued for years, so they should take care of the community they are servicing now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Mr. Brian White? Welcome back to the commission, Mr. White.
Well, sir, good to see you again. Regarding Resolution 40 of 2022, I do agree with those that have spoken, particularly the representatives of the cities themselves, that cities should govern and that the processes shouldn't be more hindered with additional bureaucracy. But given that this commission has ordinances that extend well beyond the city limits, 5 miles in fact, I do believe that the expansion of the notification areas is well within a good idea. If it wasn't for the fact that there were ordinances that were 5 mile distant, and that as these limits expand, newly people are added to this list of ordinances that they're now in violation of, I will say that I think that it's a good idea. Matter of fact, I'd say that it doesn't go far enough. I would say that it ought to go to either 5 miles, or the ordinances should change to the 1,500 feet, or the limits of the city. Take your pick. But one of the two, I believe, should be the case. I do not debate the cities should govern themselves. I fully believe that to be the case. But it's that reason that I do not live inside the city of the boundary of any city limits. I believe the ordinances should be the same. With regards to 6251, I understand that you believe the Metropolitan Planning Commission needs to be represented by the Caddo Commission. I believe that it is a continued removal of freedoms and property use. I would also prefer that currently you're asking for 6 members, not 5. That concerns me that there would be a tie, especially in the fact that they're their own appeals process. I would be concerned with that. I would ask it be an odd number and not an even. I would also ask that there be a different body that is the appeals. Previously, this did come up. It continues to be an issue for people that live outside the city limits, just like for Ordinance 40. The UDC did come up. It was ended in a tie, as you may remember. I would ask that also be taken into consideration for 40 and for 6251. The Caddo Alliance for Freedom noted this before, and it's being established again. So I would like to note that that is not welcome either for the Caddo Alliance for Freedom or for others that live outside the city limits. Would also like to note that the 5 mile barrier for the MPC was removed, which is why this set was put into place. A different set of standards were supposed to be part of what was provided to the parish residents that has yet to be provided, and instead is simply an extension of what presently exists. It's not exactly promises made, promises kept here. So I do want to note that this is the Caddo Alliance for Freedom's perspective as well. Taking rights and overreach is not welcome. If I was going to be part of the city, I would want to be there. I would voice that opinion. But the overreach distance from Shreveport would be a concern. The overreach of those ordinances, those requirements that you have, I had no clue that those applied to me when the city of Shreveport expanded its limits. It needs to be either fully extended to the 5 mile limit, or the ordinances need to go to 1,500 feet, in my opinion.
Mr. White, thank you. Thank you, Mr. White. Giselle Bryant?
Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Bryant comes up, I just want to, I don't know if I didn't mean to cut him off, but I've seen 2 of them do it already, but guests are supposed to direct their comments to us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Welcome, Ms. Bryant.
Thank you. I'm just going to wipe down since we're still in the pandemic. Good afternoon to all of you, those who lead the parish, and to the guests who've spoken. I'm Giselle Bryan, as you have said. I'm speaking because Caddo Parish is home, and Caddo Parish covers Caddo Parish. That's every municipality, whether they're governed or unincorporated. So when we think of consequences, I look at that long term, and I ask, especially with the mayors present from Blanchard and also from the town of Ida, but the mayor of Greenwood, unfortunately, has not been able to be present. And I asked those mayors, would they have moved expeditiously with accepting those annexations if there had not been a leader at the top? I think in any governmental body, you have to have a leader, even though they have elected aldermen who support. I heard the councilwoman speak very clearly, but my concern is when we allow things to happen, they will expand to other areas. And as a parish, we're going to suffer consequences either positively or negatively. I just ask that they reevaluate that, look at if they have allowed annexations without the seat of the mayor being there to represent. And I think that is what these particular resolutions are trying to bring to our attention. We are citizens who elect governmental bodies to lead our cities. But when there is a link that is missing, oftentimes things are circumvented. I'm a resident and I own a home near the Greenwood area, Greenwood Acres, which is often left out. And there's a tremendous amount of congested traffic. And with that area, if you have not driven out there, drive. There are a number of accidents that have been listed, fatalities. That is the only right-of-way. If something happens on I-20, all traffic has to leave. And I know the people in Timberline should have a very, very particular interest in trying to maintain getting in and out. There are a number of citizens who live there. So I stand in asking you to really consider looking thoroughly at the resolutions that have been proposed and think and ask yourself, would you want the city to move forward, the parish to move forward without the governmental bodies that we have elected here? You all cannot conduct business if you don't have a quorum. I think we certainly need the mayor representation of Greenwood. So I'm standing in support because consequences have major, major, major impacts. And they will impact us either negatively for generations to come, and our children will be inheriting the burdens that we pass on because of not having good government. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryan. Is it Verna Murray? Welcome.
Hello, my name is Verna Murray, and I've been a resident of 4237 McMichael Avenue for 32 years, and I'm here to just express.
Ms. Murray, can you speak a little closer to the microphone? We can't quite hear you. Thank you.
I'm here to express, I hope they be able to do something with the Greenwood water, because throughout the years I've been there, we have had water problems for a long time, off and on. And then I've been thinking they got it fixed, and then next thing you know, sometimes you see brown water, you see low pressure water, and you just see just different types of problems. So I'm in resolution for 41, and that's what I'm here to stand for. Right, thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your input. Karen Bell? Karen Bell? Ah, hello, Miss Bell.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Good evening. One of my favorite, well, first of all, I am Karen Bell, and I am a resident property owner in Deer Creek Estates. I've been there for about 12 years. But one of my favorite movies, and you all will know the name of the movie after I describe how I am feeling right now. Once this young lady wakes up from a dream that she perceived was a dream, and she looks around and she sees all of her family members, the first thing she says to her auntie is, "Auntie M, there's no place like home." And that's exactly how I feel today, seeing all of my former commissioners and some of the directors and other support staff. It's just good to see you. I do want to say, and thank you for recognizing me, Commissioner Atkins, I do want to say a lot that has already been spoken about the water situation. I do agree. When I first moved in my home about 12 years ago, the one thing that was quite disappointing was when I was getting ready to bathe my grandbaby, the water was brown. And subsequent to that, I've had plenty of boil advisories. Sometimes it seems as if that the lines of communication is a little blurred. Most recently when we had, I think it was some correspondence that was disseminated on July the 14th regarding the problems with the water situation, and then most recently. So I called and got a very nice young lady on the phone, and I was asking her, did we need to boil the water? And when she found out where I lived, she said, well, ma'am, that really doesn't apply to your subdivision because the problem is coming from a different distribution point. So that was confusing to me because I had gotten the robocall and then 2 forms of communication saying that there was a problem with the water. So I just needed to know if we needed to boil. So I think that it would be prudent for the town of Greenwood to be welcoming an advisory council, because advisory councils can be advantageous to any type of organization. And it gives an opportunity for the town of Greenwood to hear from end users. We are the end users. And a lot of what has been said I do agree with, but I did want to say that I would think that the town of Greenwood would be amenable to that, because during my time here with the parish appropriated several $100,000 to the town of Greenwood for various infrastructure projects. That's it. I'm a little nervous. But anyway, I just wanted to voice my concern about that. Now, as far as the annexation is concerned.
Motion to extend.
Second.
Thank you. As far as the annexation resolution is concerned, have you ever heard the term bamboozled? Well, I feel like that's what happened to us. And I say that from the aspect of the public hearing supposedly that was held. It was posted on a piece of paper, maybe smaller than this, and it was ground level. From the pictures that I saw, it was ground level, and had I gone over to stand by it, it probably would have just come up to my ankle. And I think that was unfair. I think that was totally unfair, and I think that that was intentional. Now, there is some acreage right across the street from where my subdivision is. And we have one way in and one way out. Now, what has happened with the recent annexation that a lot of the residents disapproved of, it has set a precedent. And now any other company, business that decides that they would like to relocate at that property, and if they are not happy with the current zoning, well, they can do the same thing. Just go to the town of Greenwood and get annexed in and get the zoning that they prefer. So, commissioners, we look to you. We look to you. Commissioner Atkins, you may not be my commissioner, But if we have a problem and if my commissioner is not available or incapacitated or whatever, we can call either one of you. We should feel as if we can call either one of you. So I would hope that you all would take a close look at that and go ahead and pass that resolution. And just think about the subdivisions that would be impacted negatively as a result of this resolution not passing. So thank you for your time, and it's good to see all of you.
Good to see you, Ms. Bell. Kay Waller?
Dr. Wilson hadn't been the same.
Welcome, Ms. Waller.
Thank you. Kay Waller, 4250 Calderwood Drive. Good afternoon, commissioners and all that's assembled in this chamber today. Upon the request, I stand as the voice for Linda Smith of Greenwood. My name is Linda Smith, and I live in Greenwood. I am not able to be present and speak to you face to face, so I asked Mrs. Kay Waller to be my voice and read my letter. I'm sure many of you have had the opportunity to watch the story that was recently aired on Channel 3 News about the town of Greenwood water issues. The issues are real, the customers are real, and the water problems in the town of Greenwood is not fake news. The customers of the town of Greenwood, myself, have been there for more than 20 years, and the constant ongoing water problems, including low water pressure, discolored brown water, chlorine levels not meeting the required guidelines, discolored water as well, and E. coli has been detected in the water supply, and constant boil advisories being issued, usually seem like monthly. On this past Monday, I was shocked as I listened to Mr. Chavez state that his parents never had any problems with the town of Greenwood water supply. Mr. Chavez, I had no water, not a drop, for more than a week after the big freeze in 2021. With all respect to Commissioner Chavez, I urge you to Google the town of Greenwood water issues and familiarize yourself with the history. You will find that history just does not lie. The citizens of District 12 elected Commissioner Ken Epperson to be our voice, not Commissioners Chavez, Hopkins, or others. Each of you were elected by the citizens in your district to be their voice. So I prayerfully ask that each of you would lay aside any personal or political distractions that you may have with your fellow commissioner that might hinder you from making the people a priority. Mr. Chavez, I watched the interview you did on April 6th and shared that you switched from a registered Republican because you want to represent everyone, especially those who feel left out. I would like to believe that because I feel left out as well as many others that are customers of the town of Greenwood Water. Citizens are only asking for community representation to sit with, talk with, listen to, and collectively work with the town of Greenwood to find solutions that will flush out the issues that have plagued our community for far too long. If you believe together we are stronger, support resolutions 40 and 41. I remind you that these issues are not fake news. Thank you. May God bless each of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming down. Kristen Newsom. Welcome, Ms. Newsom.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Kisha, Kisha Newsom.
My apologies.
No problem. I'm the town clerk for the town of Wool City. I come before you today on behalf of the mayor and the town council for the town of Wool City. We emphatically and resolutely oppose resolution number 40 of 2022. And we just ask that you consider the lifeblood and the vitality of the small municipalities who depend upon the tax dollars that may come from businesses who have interest in moving into our municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Newsom. Mr. Ken Epperson Sr. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's
Welcome.
good to speak as a citizen. Oftentimes, people take elected officials as being someone quite different. But we are property owners, we are husbands, brothers, mothers, all of those things. I stand before you today representing one of my constituents that has an appointment with eye surgery today. She's in support of resolution number 41 of 2022. It has been reported that persons in District 12 on the Greenwood water system are experiencing water issues. At some point, many of us know of situations when water has been off, perhaps under boil advisory, or not up to the standards for human or animal consumption or any sanitary use. For some persons, it has been more frequent, with water reportedly being dirty in appearance and not suitable for drinking, cooking, bathing, washing of clothes, etc. Now, it may not be us at this time, but understandably so, I do. And we should understand why constituents are concerned when they seemingly have no recourse. For that reason, we are requesting a Citizen Advisory Board to give voice to all the communities and all households. It is unconscionable to hear opposition and denial for a God-given natural resources of water for every citizen. Commissioners, this should not be. Can anyone live without water? At what cost can one purchase enough water regularly to perform simple everyday survival tasks, just to cook, wash, bathe, maintain a house, and family personal hygiene? We are all intelligent enough to know that not just water, but warm water is required for constant hand washing and sanitizing with the advent of COVID-19 and monkeypox. Is it not overreaching when persons who need to reside, work, or serve a necessary person within that district would conduct a personal survey and report back to the governing body that some citizens have water? How selfish. The focal point is not who has water, but rather who doesn't have water. Why should the parish be concerned? Greenwood, Louisiana is located in District 12 of Caddo Parish. The constituents vote and have duly elected their Caddo Parish Commissioner, who has sworn to represent everyone in District 12. It is ludicrous to think that just another neighbor has water, then all others should be content when they themselves don't. It is for that reason I'm asking all commissioners to support resolution number 41 of 2022 for the betterment of all of District 12 as well as Caddo Parish. Water is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Thank you, Minister Joyce Rogers. Minister Rogers was raised up in the Greenwood community, and she owns several acres of property within the Greenwood community today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson, for that perfectly timed discussion. All right, thank you again, Commissioner Epperson. I think that is it for our citizens' comments. Did we receive any additional citizens' comments?
No, I believe that's them.
Okay, we're ready to move on, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us,
Let me just say, pardon me, Mr. Clerk, I would like to thank everybody who came down to speak. We appreciate hearing from you all. Thank you all for taking the time to do so. We appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Clerk.
okay, that brings us to visitors. We have no scheduled visitors today. Just as an update, we will have a number of scheduled visitors for the next work session and regular session. So if you're looking to hear somebody that you don't see mentioned, there are a number that are scheduled for the next cycle. That brings us then to adopting regular session minutes at 7.1.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sturmey Watts, a second from Commissioner Young to approve the minutes. Let's vote, please.
And that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition. And that brings us to special resolutions. We have one special resolution today, and that is a special resolution of recognition for Blanchard eight and under AA All-Stars.
Move to approve, read at a later date.
Second. We have a motion to approve and read at a later date by Commissioner Hopkins, a second by Commissioner Chavez. Any comments, Commissioner Hopkins? Okay, let's vote.
I'll read on the 25th at the ballpark.
Okay, let's vote, please.
Commissioner Gage Watts? It's on.
And that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition. That brings us to communiques and committee reports, where administration response to information requests from commissioners.
Anybody for communiques today? If so, please get on the board. Pardon?
I said Dr. Wilson will do this report.
All right, Dr. Wilson, do you have a report for us?
Okay.
Any questions for Dr. Wilson? Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues publicly, along with State Representative House District 3, Tammy Phelps, Governor John Bell Edwards, the Northwest Louisiana Sickle Cell Disease Association, who has helped to advocate for sickle cell patients. On last Thursday, August 4th, the ceremonial bill signing of House Bill 968, the Remington Scarlett Watson Betty Cooper Phelps Act, requires the LDH to establish and maintain a sickle cell disease registry to be known as the Schuyler Cooper database to function as a repository of records for the cure and treatment of sickle cell disease. So I know that I often advocate, and we've passed a lot of resolutions about sickle cell disease, and this is the importance of having relationships and making sure that we continue to push these resolutions and urge legislation to look at what we are saying here locally. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to my colleagues.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Burrell.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I wasn't done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Dr. Wilson, I just wanted to get a quick update on the tornado sirens.
On the what?
Tornado sirens.
Oh, okay. I need to get with you on that one personally, Mr. Gage. I did get an update on the estimated cost for the project, and I kind of left it at that. I need to maybe converse with you on that.
Okay, we
And
can get together offline.
Yes, ma'am. No,
That's fine.
I'll send it to you this afternoon, but I did get it.
Okay.
An update on what we got a few years ago.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I also want to thank Mrs. CAO, as I affectionately call her, Ms. Erica Bryant, for your outstanding accomplishment, along with all of our colleagues for the installation of the Ring doorbells. Thank you.
That's it?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes,
Okay.
that is it.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to reiterate the fact that we had our first Caddo Community Broadband Committee meeting, which you were a part of. We didn't have a voting quorum, but we weren't making any decision at the time, so it was more of a organizational meeting. I think a lot of good issues came out of that meeting that we would probably be facing when we start our broadband deployment in this area. I understand that well, there was at least 2 providers that were awarded the first round of funding of the Go grant funding from the state.
Gumbo.
Yeah, Go grant. Gumbo funding for broadband, and that was Comcast and a company called a conglomerate called CSC Holdings, to the tune of about 12.5 million, somewhere along there. And we will be looking forward to meetings that will be coming up shortly. Mr. Vineet Iyengar, who is the director of Louisiana Connection, I think, that deals with broadband from the state, also AT&T. We'll be sitting with them. Comcast initially had requested a meeting. They did not set a date, but we'll be looking at them and others. So again, Mr. President, I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell, and I think you and I I think the clerk is trying to get together with you and I to schedule that Comcast meeting, so let's try to remember to do that.
And if I could update you on that, the Comcast representative did reach out to apologize that he wasn't able to coordinate this week. They did have an outage that their schedule changed and their availability changed as a result. So they'll be back in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is that it, Commissioner Burrell?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Anyone else on communiques? Seeing no one, let's move on, Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to the President's report.
I do not have, we have a full agenda ahead of us, so I have nothing to add today. We can carry on.
Sounds great. We'll move forward then to the public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases. We do have a public hearing for the zoning case appeal of zoning case number 22-3-BAP. That's for property located at 5247 Norfolk Road in Caddo Parish. Mr. Dana Wheeler is the applicant and the appellant. And that is concerning a request for approval of a yard variance for a detached garage. The Parish Zoning Commission voted to deny the application as submitted, and the homeowner has appealed to you today. I believe you have received a number of requests for this one.
Okay, so I'd like to at this time open the floor for public comments. I think we've got several people who would like to speak. Dana Wheeler, would you like to come up and speak?
Yes, I would.
Mr. President.
And just as a reminder, this is in these public comment, this public hearing section, this is the section where each side is limited to a total of 15 minutes. That 15 minutes per side can be used, it doesn't have to be 3 minutes per person. It's just a total of 15 minutes per side. So that's up to
I believe
each
we
side.
have 2 people that are pro and maybe 4 that are con. So, Mr. Wheeler, take that into account. But 1 second, please. Commissioner Jackson, do you have a point?
No, I think the clerk read my mind.
Great, thank you. Mr. Wheeler, the floor is yours.
Okay, if I need to, I assume that I can come back later and use more of my 15 minutes after, or is this a one-shot deal?
It's a one-shot deal.
Okay.
And please, Mr. Wheeler, I know you're tall, but if you could speak to the mic a little bit.
I'm seeking to build a detached garage, detached building on a piece of lakefront property. The property is triangular shaped, and because the Unified Development Code lists from the street to the house as my front yard and denies detached buildings in the front yard, I need a yard variance. And I'm asking that you approve this yard variance because according to the Unified Development Code, it does not pose a risk to public health, public safety, or public welfare. It does not alter the essential flavor of the neighborhood. There are multiple detached buildings in people's front yards. It is largely obscured both from the street and from my western neighbor by vegetation. And this was confirmed by Miss Emily Trant, an administrative assistant with the MPC, who went out and viewed the site. It is the best site for me to build it there. If I build it in what is considered my front yard, which would be between my house and the lake, or the side yards, it would be in a flood zone. Granted, I could pile a mountain of dirt there until I built it up above the flood zone, but even if I did that, that would still affect the runoff. Rainwater has to go someplace, and runoff would affect my existing building there, my house. Also, on the eastern side, it would affect my ability to use our boat launch. You have to get kind of a running start to get onto the boat launch, and with that building there, wouldn't be able to do that. Also, I gotta admit, it would be an eyesore to my easterly neighbor. There's no vegetation obscuring the building or whatever built there. It's not a dwelling. There's just gonna be electricity, no water, no sewage, no bathroom, no shower, no kitchen or anything. Are there any questions?
Commissioner Jackson, is that just old? No questions, Mr. Wheel.
Okay. Anything, since I got one shot, trying to think of anything else I need to say.
There's another Wheeler, but
Yeah,
but
okay.
it's on the.
Let the other Wheeler come up and talk then. All right.
Okay. Vien Wheeler, is it?
Good
Welcome, Ms.
afternoon. My name is Vien Wheeler, 5247 Norfolk Drive. This is my first time, so I'm a little bit afraid and nervous. I'm here to support my husband. We bought this property for 25 years or longer, since 1995, to raise the 3 boys there so they learn how to fish, ride by, and to swim. And our western neighbor is Dr. McDonald. He is a good friend of my husband's, and they worked together for 15 years. Most of the property there are built in 1950, older than I am. So the house is old and it's small, and built by cypress cedar tree. The cypress tree that is extinct now. You couldn't even cut the tree down. It went in the water, and the property, the 2 buildings were built by that kind of wood. And we love the building, but they don't have an enclosed garage. And we both retired now, and my husband would like to build a detached garage where we can have a little shop for him, a place to park. And the property been flooded in 2016. And Mr. McDonald, my previous neighbor, had built, teared down his 1950 house and built a Hilton, he called it. He come over and say, Vien, I'm gonna build a Hilton next door to you. I say, married to you, because he a single man and he don't have anybody, so I'm happy to see him to do anything good for himself. But he raised his house up like 15 foot above flood level, so make our house a little bit lower than his house, so the rainwater will wash down and our house will be flooded every time it's rained. We have 2 French what do you call it, French drain, around the house to take the water. And later on in 2016 or 15, Mr. Pittman, the new owner, come in and build his yard up so he can build a pool to his house, make it more water flow into our house. And besides, he have the pump to his pool right next to our bedroom. At nighttime, if you sleep, you can hear the vibration of the wall on his pump running 24/7. And we didn't say any word. And in 2016, the house was flooded. Last time Mr. Pittman was here, he will ask himself, is he a good neighbor? He come over 2016, we are flooded, we are total our house out, we tear down the house. He come over and told me this, look at me in the eye and say, you should tear down this house and trade this property for me so my son can build next to my house. So he wanted to trade his lot across from the street, which will look into the cove while we have an open lake. And we have 2 buildings, a dock, and a boathouse for his empty lot across the street, so his son can live next door to him. And he asked me twice, and then once again, he asked his son to call my husband and see if we would trade it for him. At that time, I feel like it was a harassment, and I feel like he didn't like us to be his neighbor, but we didn't choose to be his neighbor. We were there before he come in and lived there. So I'm not surprised that he's here today to oppose the building that we are building. We have considered all the locations for that lot, because it's like the triangular, And that the driveway, and if we build it on the eastern side, we don't have that much land to build the building. So we have no choice except the western side. And there will be vegetation between his house and our house. And that tree line was there before before we were there. I mean, before we bought. So we didn't plant all that tree line. So I'm not surprised he's here. And at the minute we have the letter out, his wife will be on the phone and call everybody in the neighborhood to support them. So I'm here to please for my husband's detached garage so we can retire in the place that we bought 25 years ago.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Ms. Wheeler. Thank you.
And one more thing. And we live out of the city limit, and then no covenant and no HOA to give us a guideline for what we can do and what we cannot do.
Okay, thank
so
you.
I hope you consider that.
Thank you. I'd just like to remind my colleagues that in a public hearing, once the pros and cons have all spoken, then if people around this horseshoe have questions, those questions can be asked at that time. All right, so now we have Ms. Annette Pittman.
May I go in front of her?
Sure. Is that Mr. Pittman? Mark Pittman.
Mark Pittman, 5252 Norfolk Road, west side of the property in question. And I don't deny trying to swap properties. Who would want their son living next to them?
We have to accept you.
I understand it.
Let's direct the questions here. Statements here, please.
I sent a packet. I'm assuming that y'all got the packet, so I'm not going to rehash everything that's in the packet. That's not necessary. I will say it's imperative that the real estate agent, we had come out as a high-end real estate agent and said it would devalue all the properties, my property the worst. We're on a cul-de-sac. When you're on a cul-de-sac, all the driveways are right there. That means everybody's front yard is together. There's already a building starting at the front of my house, and not a very good-looking building, and goes about 30 feet. The flood zone stuff, I want to tell you, I'm a general contractor, been a general contractor for over 30 years. I've been doing commercial residential work for 50 years. I shoot lots of elevations. I've got an eye for an elevation. It's very misleading. His house sets in a hole. It sets down close to the water. The house that was there before mine, it would flood every time it rained too. His house, the picture that he submitted you was in 2016 when they didn't open the gates from the Parish to B, and it flooded a lot of properties around Cross Lake. But 75% of his property is the same elevation of my property, and I'm not even required to have flood insurance. In fact, I'm the only, he is the only one in that area that is required to have flood insurance if he has to have flood insurance. I don't know that he does. These things, you don't, I'm a good neighbor. I never get sick, we carry them food. The only couple, there's 11 people that's tied close to the cul-de-sac. 10 of them signed opposition. The only one didn't is the Wiggins, who's on the east side. Wonderful old couple, we carry them food all the time. They're not in good health. They don't want to get into a community. I've been a good neighbor to the Wheelers. I've cut stuff back. Right now, that property, it's not unusual for somebody to come to my house and ask, is that lot for sale next door? No. Well, why don't they get them to clean it up? It's that bad. There's piles of brush. Mr. Wheeler, it's misleading on the garage. If you go back and look at his application for a garage, it has look to be 8-foot by 7-foot roll-up door. And Mr. Wheeler had also said to me, before he knew I'd be opposing this, that he intended to make furniture. Well, if he makes furniture, you don't make so much furniture, you got to get rid of it or sell it or something, then it becomes a commercial business. That building would be, our house sets north and south, but more northeasterly, and his property is on the east side, so it's going to be, that building is right in front of my house. Right now, you can sit in my dining room and see a catamaran, a couple of vehicles, numerous piles of brush, a big pile. We don't clean up the fence row because well, I can't clean it up because it's on this side of the fence. But what's on my side of the fence, it's a block from doing it. I love my home. It's my forever home. Now, if Mr. Wheeler wants to go, he lives in Southern Trace. He doesn't live out there. If he wants to go to Southern Trace and build a 50 by 45 or 55 by 40 building in this front yard at Southern Trace, good luck. I wouldn't trade my house for any two houses in Southern Trace. You don't devalue somebody else's property. It's either lack of common sense or lack of common decency. All this, I told Mr. Wheeler called me after it was denied. Why did you deny it? My goodness. I had no idea you could put 2 Piper airplanes in that dang building. So I'm asking you to deny it and think of it as if it was your home somebody was trying to put a big metal building in front of. I want to remain friends with the Wheelers. I'm not a bad neighbor. Good neighbor. Go put up a mailbox when one gets run over, carry them food, still work. But 75% of this lot never saw water in its 2016 flood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pittman. Before I call up the next speaker, I'd like to remind everybody to please direct your statements to the commissioners. Please refrain from directing statements to anyone in the audience, and I ask the audience to please refrain from speaking to the person at the podium. Ms. Pittman, do you have anything to add to Mr. Pittman's comment?
I just want to say that if they put this huge 55 by 40 metal building, I would be sitting in my dining room having guests over, and that's what we would be looking at. I would be sitting in my den looking through my double glass doors looking at this metal building. They do not live out there. They live in Southern Trace. It's been more of a camp house for them. This is our primary residence, and yes, our driveways do sit just on top of each other, the big part of our lots, and these are only 1 acre lots. So that is a gigantic building to be putting on a 1 acre lot, especially when they already have a detached garage that sits in front of their house. So you know, if they do have room on the back of their lot, on the easterly side, that he could put a building. Of course, I wouldn't think that you would allow that size building on a lot, maybe a quite smaller storage room area. But it would ruin our neighborhood. It would ruin all of our area. And and the garages that they're saying are down the street, well, there are some down the street, but these are on 2 and 3 acre lots, and they're spread out. They're not in a cul-de-sac where all the neighbors are so close knit together. They have much bigger lots, and they're down the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pittman. Ms. Candy Peavy? Welcome back to the commission, Ms. Peavy.
Hi, thank you. Hadn't seen you guys in a long time. Candy Peavy, 942 Ontario. I actually live in town, but I have a small lake house at 5241 Norfolk, so it's 2 doors down from the property in question. And this will be really short. My only complaint is that it really is truly not a detached garage. It does have a garage door, but the building is huge. It's much bigger than my house out there on my piece of property. I'm very close. I just think it's the wrong size for the property, and the location is unfortunate because of the way that I'm not in the cul-de-sac. I'm just slightly before the cul-de-sac, so it doesn't affect my driveway. It doesn't affect much at all, except that I would hate to see my property devalued because of a very unsightly, extremely large building. I think detached garage is a misnomer for what this building would really be. and I hope that you will uphold the denial of the variance request. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Beatty. And lastly, we have John Beckett, Jr.
My name's John
Welcome.
Beckett, and I live at 5244 Norfolk, and that's in that cul-de-sac. And I've worked for the city of Shreveport as a plumbing inspector for the last 9 years. I'm definitely against this building. It's too tall for one thing, it would be an eyesore, and it would devalue everybody's property. And I agree with Mr. Pittman that it really wouldn't be good for the neighborhood. They maybe should come up with a smaller building or something and have maybe a storm drain system around the building to get rid of the groundwater. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Okay, do we have any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Jackson, you're on the board again, but I think that's accidental, isn't it? Or old or something?
Yeah, no, not.
Okay. Anything, anybody?
Yes.
Pardon?
Mr. Johnson first.
Well, it's still just a public hearing, right? Are we still in the public hearing?
We're still in public hearing on this matter. Commissioner Johnson, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted Steve and Jean to come up to give us what the UDC actually says.
Mr. Jean, could you come up? Welcome, Mr. Jean.
Yes, sir. Stephen Jean, 505 Travis, Shreveport, Louisiana,
Representing the
71101.
Metropolitan Planning Commission.
Yep, and the Metropolitan Planning Commission, yes.
What does the UDC note for this particular issue, and why did the Planning and Zoning Commission vote to deny it?
Well, the UDC does not allow detached garages in the front yard. And so they applied for a variance. And the reason, I think for the same reasons that you're hearing today, I think that the Planning and Zoning Commission believed that it was not compatible with the neighborhood, and they voted to deny.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Jean. Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. Stephen, Jean, you may know the answer to this. I see it's 40 feet or projected 40 feet by 55 feet. What's the height? I've heard a lot of people mention the height, but I don't see that on here. Do you know?
I don't recall.
Okay. That was my only question.
Yeah.
It's been downsized to 45 by 35.
Was that the height, President? I couldn't hear the height.
And the height of the walls are 10 feet.
You gotta come to the mic, sir.
10 feet.
Okay, 10 feet? All right. Just want to get that on the record.
Thank you.
I didn't know. Thank you, President. Thank you, Stephen Jean.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yeah, Stephen.
Yes, sir.
I'd rather just go ahead and ask it now. Isn't this kind of telling folks what to do with their property? Not a trick question.
So is the ordinance?
No, is this decision or what the zoning board, the PCB, is that what it's called? Is that in there telling people what to do with their private property?
Well, I think that the ordinances themselves have guidelines to tell people what to do with their property. Yes, sir. And they just, did not believe that there was a compelling reason to grant a variance.
And well, do you remember what the vote on that from the PZB?
I believe it was unanimous, if I'm not mistaken, yes.
Wow. Okay. I just remember us having a very long, drawn-out debate about people's property rights.
Yes, sir.
You remember that? Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, seeing no, we've got Commissioner Epperson.
Okay, the PP, what we got now, the PPP?
PZB.
That's us.
Parish.
We made this.
Yeah.
That's that committee.
Parish
That's
Zoning
that
Commission.
committee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And this committee that was put in place because of
Caddo
a group
Alliance.
that came down and said that they didn't want nobody telling them what to do with their property.
Yeah.
And somebody passed a state law and got us in all this pickle.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Johnson.
I'm not back on.
That's old? Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else? All right, seeing no one else, this public hearing is now closed. We can go back, we can continue with the agenda, Mr. Clerk. Just a reminder to the people in attendance that this was just the public hearing. The vote on this issue will come a little later in the agenda.
All right, that brings us to the public hearing on ordinances now. That, of course, was the public hearing on zoning cases. Our next item on our agenda is 12. That's the public hearing on ordinances. We have a number of ordinances up for public hearing today. Did you want me to read them and then open one?
Yes, let's read them all, and then we'll open the floor for public comments.
Okay, that
Please.
first item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6247 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Building Maintenance Fund, Capital Improvement Fund, General Fund, Oil and Gas Fund, Public Works Fund, Detention Facilities Fund, Criminal Justice Facilities Fund, Health Tax Fund, and the Riverboat Fund for the year 2022 to terminate completed or lapsed capital projects and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6248 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Oil and Gas Fund for the year 2022 to provide an appropriation for relocation assistance and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6249 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the capital outlay and oil and gas funds and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6250 of 2022. That's an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication for an unnamed road in the parish of Caddo and otherwise providing with respect thereto. That item is in District 11.
Okay. So that brings us to the public hearing. I'd now like to open the floor for public comments. Is there anyone in the audience to speak either for or against any of the items on in this public hearing on ordinances? I see Ms. Janelle is here to speak on behalf of the Ronald McDonald House. Please come to the podium.
Thank you so much for having me today. Mr. Roy Griggs, community leader and philanthropist here, was unable to attend, so I wanted to read a brief statement from him about the Ronald McDonald House. He said, "Bringing a Ronald McDonald House to this area has been a goal for my family for many, many years. Our dream has been to provide these services to Louisiana families so they can be with their child in the hospital. My hope is that our community will come together to donate the funds needed to build this home away from home that provides families with so much more than a free place to stay. There are 380 Ronald McDonald houses in the world, and it's time that our community has one too." Janelle Mason, I'm the CEO of Ronald McDonald House Charities of Arkansas, and Shreveport and Northwest Louisiana is part of the territory we serve. I'm excited to be here today to share an update about the Ronald McDonald House project that we have in the works here for the Shreveport community in Northwest Louisiana. Ronald McDonald House provides a free place for families to stay when their critically ill child is hospitalized. They can stay together in a private room, have meals, amenities, community support from other families in the house, and play areas for their children and activities. All services are provided free to these families. This will be an estimated $8 million project built on Susan Drive, adjacent to Willis Knighton South. The property has been donated by Willis Knighton South, but this is not a Ronald McDonald House that will only serve Willis Knighton families. It will serve every family with a child in the hospital here in Shreveport. Willis Knighton has donated a 7-figure gift to help, a leadership gift to help get this project started. We plan to build a 20,000 square foot, 20-room house for Louisiana families, staffed by Louisianans and built by companies in the community. We will provide transportation to the other hospitals. I've spoken with De Niro, Washington, who just received a fabulous grant for transportation, and he's assured me that we will be a stop on that route dedicated to medical transportation. We anticipate serving 21,000 people in a year. That could be a family of 3 or a family of 1, and an additional 5,400 day-use guests who would come to the house to take a shower, step away from the hospital, eat a meal. We anticipate serving 71,000 meals in a year to these families. What we found in our research was when a family has a child in the hospital, there are 4 major needs: housing, transportation, food, and personal items while they're far from their home. I'm here today to ask for your support and answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Mason.
you.
Any questions for Ms. Mason while she's here?
What was the 4 major needs? Housing, transportation, food, and
Personal daily items
personal needs. Okay.
when they're far from home and don't have the things in their home.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mason. Seeing no one on the board, did we have anyone else to speak for or against any of the other items mentioned during this public hearing on ordinances? I'm sorry, Ms. Mason, did you have a question?
One more thing?
Yes, you may.
You always have a second thought. We are receiving letters of support from the area hospitals, and I'll have those, keep you all updated on those as we receive them, but we are getting support from local hospitals.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Chavez.
I know the Ronald McDonald House, every house has their own pet. I would request that you guys adopt one from Caddo Parish Animal Services, if that's a possibility. Maybe we can write that in there, but see that man right there to make that happen. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no one else on the board, Mr. Clerk, we're ready to proceed.
Okay, so did you just want to declare that closed and then?
Yeah, sorry, the public hearing is closed, correct.
Great, thank you. And that'll bring us now to zoning ordinances, cases and appeals for final passage. The item that you have before you today is the zoning case appeal for 22-3-BAP. That's the property located at 5247 Norfolk Road in Caddo Parish, with Mr. Dana Wheeler being the applicant and appellant.
Move to uphold the Planning and Zoning Commission decision.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson to uphold the decision by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Uphold it. Yeah, uphold it. To keep it.
And then I think the second was by Commissioner Jackson. Would you like to comment on your motion, Commissioner Johnson?
Just basically looking at what the UDC says, and this was actually going to be a variance to the UDC. You had nearby neighbors. They signed the opposition of adding this. It's not a regular garage. The garage is 40 by 55, something like that. So it would be something big that's be sitting in the front yard, metal building. In that particular area, there are some nice homes because they're sitting on the lake. And, I think if it was a regular sized garage or if it was pushed back further on the property, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But basically, I think I wouldn't want to have someone who had a big monstrous building in front of my house or next door to my house. So I feel that the PZC made the right decision.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, I have looked at this over and over, and yeah, I'm the guy in the minority that I believe that everybody's property is their property to do what they want to with it, as long as they don't hurt the welfare or the health or safety of other people. So I know I will be in the minority on this, but I'm going to vote to uphold the appeal. I do understand the other side's situation, and but anyway, that's all I have.
Just to be clear, are you voting yes for Commissioner Johnson's motion?
I'm voting against his to oppose.
No, mine is to uphold.
He's uphold. I'm opposing it.
Okay, you're, all right. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right,
I
any
missed
other?
it.
Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Attorney Frazier or Stephen, is this a use by right? Would this have been a use by right, or is that why they had to go to the PZB or whatever we calling it? I hope I'm saying it, PBZ.
It's not a use by right in the front yard. So it's not a use by right in the front yard.
Oh, okay.
It's not allowed in the front yard.
What if it was in the backyard?
It would be allowed.
Okay. I just, just trying to figure out, how it got to this point of having to even get there. But I respect the will of the commissioner in that area. I do think that this was one of those functions. I would be remiss if I didn't say it. This was a function that the Shreveport Caddo Metropolitan Planning Commission was already doing. And my colleague will say what he feels his right is about for private property use. I'm going to put my stake in the sand and say I'm for not duplicating the government. I think that bill that Representative McCormick put through, shoved through the legislature, did nothing but duplicate what's already going on. And we said this was going to happen. Now we got a whole board, staff has to be pulled for more time to come do something that was already being done because we didn't have the political will to stand up and do what was right. We let a bunch of folks who were loud drive the conversation, and then we just got duplicated government all over the place. But y'all were already doing this, right?
Yes, sir.
So then we got a whole nother entity. So I don't want to hear nobody come down here talking about growing government. Because this is the very meaning of duplicated government. Do we have to have a parish attorney down to be with them? The parish attorney got to come down. Jeff, do y'all have to be here?
Not for the PZ.
PB, but MPC staff, y'all got to be here.
Yes, sir.
So just duplication, government duplication. We shouldn't be doing that. And I'm gonna go down saying that was wrong. And every time I can throw it up and say, we told you so, I'm gonna do it. Because this is bad. Now I'm not disagreeing whether you're for or against, but I'm just saying the process is bad and the imagery is bad. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Mr. President,
Commissioners.
while I'm up here, I would like to answer a question that Commissioner Chavez asked earlier. I did consult the application, and it indicates that the height of the building is 13 foot 6 inches. The ceiling height inside is 10 feet.
President, may I respond?
Yes.
Stephen Jean, what, is there a limitation of the size of the garage if built behind the house per the UDC?
No, sir. Well, there is a limitation that I think cannot exceed the dwelling, if I'm not mistaken.
But if this gentleman wanted to put this behind his house, he's perfectly within his right.
Yeah, but it's along the lake. I don't know if it actually could fit there. But as far as the code is concerned, yes, if you're behind, you're not in the front yard. You could be beside the house, and you're not in the front yard. The front yard is defined from your front building line out to the street.
Okay.
On lakefront property, it's, a lot of people consider the lake their front, but it's really not. It's the lakeside.
Thank you, Stephen Jean. Thank you, President.
Thank you. Okay, seeing nobody else on the board, just remind you all that Commissioner Johnson made a motion to uphold the decision of the Parish Zoning Commission. So if you vote yes, you are voting to uphold the decision of the board, and that decision was to deny the request for a zoning change. Okay, let's vote, please.
and that motion carries with nine in support and 1 in opposition. That brings us to ordinances for final passage, where the first ordinance is number 6247 of 2022. That's a project closures ordinance, where it's an ordinance amending the budgets of estimate.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jackson to approve ordinance number 6247, a second by Commissioner Young. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to comment?
No, sir.
Okay, we're ready to vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition. And that brings us to the next item, which is, I'm sorry, my agenda got turned around. That brings us to ordinance number 6248 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the oil and gas fund for the year 2022 to provide an appropriation for relocation assistance and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to approve and a second by Commissioner Burrell. Ms. Gage Watts, would you like to comment? Commissioner Gage Watts, would you like to comment?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll reserve.
Okay. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to ordinance number 6249 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the capital outlay and oil and gas funds, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. This is concerning Ron McDonald.
A motion by Commissioner Burrell,
Second.
second by Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Burrell, would you like to comment?
Mr. Chairman, I think this would be a asset to our community, and hopefully the things that Commissioner Jackson as well as Commissioner Johnson was taking into consideration. I'm hoping that is the case, so he wouldn't be back here again. Again, I just support it. That's
Okay,
all.
thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do too think that it is a good idea, but I just don't think that it's good for public dollars. I asked for a meeting with all of the other hospitals, never got it. Because I wanted to see the other hospitals put some skin in the game. I mean, Willis Knighton donated some land and some money, but you got other hospitals that should also be doing this because it's benefiting the families that have children in those hospitals. I mean, and so they should be a part of it. Second of all, I have a problem with the location. If I saw in the news the other day that the mayor had a big deal about a healthcare corridor and all that, so why would this not be in that corridor? I mean, there's 3 hospitals sitting right there. It should be in the corridor and not isolated south of town because there was some land donated. There's always ways to do land swaps to get the building where it needs to be at. Biomed has some property over there. So there's plenty of property that could be utilized to put this Ronald McDonald House. And I think we're moving too fast to try to get this done. I think it needs to be done, but not the way that it's being done. You know, I want to see it come, but at the same time, with us giving $500,000, it's hard for me to vote yes for that. And then I have the other problem of expending money into another term. I've always said that. You know, if we voting on this, it should be done in our term and not in another group term because all of us might not be here next term. And so you're putting that burden on a whole nother commission. So those are my reasons for voting no. But I support having it here, but just not how we're doing it.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. I wanted to point out that this legislation passed out of the Economic Development Committee, so if we can change the author to that. And then I wanted to touch on the location. I think the location, one of the regions that it's where it's at is Willis Knighton is donating this land, and that the current infrastructure is already in place that will save the Ronald McDonald a significant amount of impact on the initial build-out. Furthermore, for the carrying cost, Willis Knighton has also offered to take care of the linens, the lawn care, and many of the day-to-days that's not going to have to come on the Ronald McDonald's house that will, I think, is going to be a significant impact or deduction to their budget. Of course, I like this in this district because it's my district, but this is a good location. This is a great location for families. Where in Southern Hills we're introducing a dog park we're about to open, and we have a lot of amenities that a family staying from out of town would enjoy. I don't know if the medical corridor would be advantageous for some families from out of town to take part in. And I'm game on a property swap, but when we're sitting here with land in hand, infrastructure in place, and ready to move forward with even the transportation to the other hospitals, this is needed, and I think this is one of those points where if we're ready to go and we're leading by example, hopefully some of the other hospitals will jump on board, and I think they will because they're gonna gain exposure from using this by bringing in patients for them, and they're gonna benefit from it as well. So I wouldn't see it against them to turn around and benefit the Ronald McDonald House by some donations, and I think it's a win-win for everybody. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, Mr. President, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to amend to encourage MOUs between local hospitals, have local and minority participation at least equal to the parish's amount, and to participate in a coordinated care network at this time. If I get a second, I can speak to it.
I'll second.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jackson, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. And I will say, Commissioner Jackson, that we all agreed to that. I'm sorry it didn't get in the writing.
Right. I thought we had, I understand, Mr. Pratt, I thought we had tasked staff, and Henry was the one, he may be out. But I thought we had tasked staff with putting that amendment together. It didn't make it to the agenda, but that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we got it in here. I am concerned about the pace that this moved. The location is problematic for me. I'm hoping that there's some conversation, because if you are trying to coordinate health care for families, you do kind of need them. But they said they've talked to folks at SportTran. We hadn't been involved in the details of this meeting, but I want to put things in place that I know my hopes that we can memorialize those agreements between our hospital systems. If those letters of support would suffice, so be it. But I think there needs to be some, I think in the committee meeting, we call them rules of engagement or terms of engagement, how this gonna go forward. If Osners and Chris's is okay with it being over there, I don't want them in 5, 6, 10 years coming back saying, well, the thing is over there, not over here. Well, no, you said you knew that it was gonna be over there. So I just wanna make sure that we're covered on that, because we're putting parish resources. I heard the conversations about the local participation. I'm all for making sure we're local and focusing on our women-owned small business, Black, African-American businesses, making sure that they have a seat at the table, at least with the portion that we are putting in. Hopefully it's greater. But I want to make sure local folks have a seat at the table. And then participating in the coordinated care network. I heard Ms. Janelle, I think the representative from Ronald McDonald House, I heard her say their most pressing needs is housing, transportation, food, and personal needs. And so being in that coordinated care wraparound system will help provide those services to those families in a seamless way. And so I think that helps. 211 is free. And so I think though there are a lot of support systems that can be used and disposed and deployed to help bridge those gaps. So I can fall both ways on this, particularly about the issue with the location. But if the hospital systems are okay with it being all the way out there and that close to one hospital system, I just don't want any blowback on this body. And so basically what we discussed in committee was doing our due diligence, and this motion did pass out of committee, so did want to reflect that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, so we have that's an amended?
Just the amended, not amended and adopt, but just to
the
amend it.
language to include the language that you stated there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that would be the motion on the table currently. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Although I made the original motion, something that's kind of plagued me. I wanted to see if I can do a friendly amendment to that motion.
How about it?
To strongly consider a land swap to the Intertech Transportation Corridor, because that particular area is a medical corridor. There is property vacant that's in that area, although, as Commissioner Chavez said, that there may have to be some improvements that are there, but there's going to be a lot of money that's going to be used for that corridor in which some of those improvements could be made. It's centrally located between Willis Knighton, LSU, even Shriners is there. Shumpert used to be there, and I think it may even have some facilities still in that area. So it is centrally located, and I think it would be the most apropos place to consider it. That's the reason why I'm asking for consideration, not that it's forced because the land has already been donated, blah, 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 but I know Willis Knighton, I've worked with them over 20-some years, and they would want to look at an opportunity to make sure that it is in a place centrally located.
Commissioner Jackson may be willing to modify your amendment to include the language that Commissioner Burrell said, which was to consider these other, consider the
property swap to the Intertech
property
Transportation
swap
Corridor.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Gage, you done, Commissioner Burrell?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that Commissioner Jackson and Commissioner Burrell have addressed my concerns.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, were there any other recommendations that we came out of the committee that is not on this ordinance?
Those were the big ones that I remember.
Yeah, I want to make sure we didn't miss one though. I mean, that they did have, we had, I think it was more than a couple, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
My bad.
Three
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's been a while, so I just wanted to make
I
sure.
think I pulled my notes from the meeting, if you like, from the other room.
Do you want to have them read now, or can we just go back? Can we make?
If we do it, I mean, you need to do it before you vote. So we need to make sure that those recommendations were actually, because that's what passed out of the committee to be presented to the body.
Okay.
And if you want to take a 5-minute recess, we can do that till he go find it.
I don't think it'll take me that long at all. If y'all want to just
Yeah,
talk about another aspect of it for a minute, I can just
Because that's what passed out of the committee. I mean, this did not pass out of the committee. Those recommendations that we did, that passed out of the committee.
Okay. We'll just maybe we table that till he comes back. If that's maybe
Okay,
not-
vote.
Well, I do have a comment.
I've just got some other people on the board that I'd like to
okay. Yeah, they can
call
come.
on. Commissioner Jackson, did you have something else?
I'll defer real quick to Attorney Frazier.
Attorney Frazier?
I was just going to point out the smoothest way to do this would be to postpone this until you had an opportunity to look at the minutes and have the ordinance written to conform to what is in the minutes. Because right now, what I'm seeing on the floor is that there is an amendment to the ordinance, but then not a motion to adopt the ordinance. I'm not real sure how many times y'all are going to come back to it in this sitting.
So my issue is this is not what passed out of the committee. This was what the 4 commissioners put out initially.
Commissioner Chavez.
Well, I didn't forego mine. I just let her go.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Jackson.
I just let Attorney Frazier go first. Yeah, my motion was just to adopt because I didn't know I didn't want folks to vote for the amendment and felt they had to be compelled. So that's why I did my motion separate to just do an amendment. So I don't necessarily know that's that big of a deal on it. I know that the three that I just called out are the three that I made. I don't know about the others, but those were my three concerns. And then I agreed to add Commissioner Burrell. But I do believe that the location is it because that Willis Knight and South has the pediatric unit? Is Miss Bryant? I don't know why I want to call her Miss Bryant. What was her last name? What was the last name?
Miss Mason said yes, that was
Miss
the reason
Mason.
they had to be-
Is that because they have the NICU down there?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you have a need.
So where is Oxford's NICU?
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's place? So that's why I think the locations is such a big issue. That's why I don't want folks, I don't want the Ronald McDonald folks to think that it's adversarial, but I think folks are trying to worry about, but I do know that Willis Knight's NICU is in South. Oshner's is at St. Mary's place. I don't know that Shumpert has it. Well, I think Shumpert's NICU is on Burcoons, I think.
It is.
So I could see it both ways, so, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President.
Has Mr. Chavez spoken on this?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
So
Have you spoken on this, Mr. Chavez?
I introduced it, which would allow me to speak again, but I'll yield to Commissioner Epperson.
Okay.
But he
Commissioner
did
Epperson.
find out the data, so if you want to come back to him too. Yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner Epperson.
I'd just like to make a motion to postpone. If I can get a second so that we can make sure that everything is articulated from the committee meeting. If I can get a second.
Second, I second.
And that way, you know, we've already advertised. We got the public hearing, so we're sitting here on a fly adding to it, which has not been advertised, so I would.
We have a
ask
motion
that
by
you
Commissioner
support
Epperson
that
to
To the next
postpone
meeting.
to the next meeting, the next Thursday, the next regular session meeting.
Right, that's what I'm doing.
And a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
Oh, I need to.
It don't matter.
I don't think it's that.
He can't hear on this side.
Did you want, as a point of information,
Yes.
y'all had requested me to get the
Yes.
information from the meeting. Do you want me to go ahead and say that before y'all continue with the?
Yes.
Okay.
Since
So-
Commissioner Johnson requested it, yes.
Okay, so the motion that was adopted in the meeting on August 4th from the Economic Development Committee was to add language, to recommend the adoption of it as long as it had a language that was added to require local and minority participation proportionate to the parish's contribution at a minimum, and then to encourage MOUs from other hospitals, and to encourage the participation in the continuum of care model. Those were the three things that were adopted.
Coordinated
Additionally,
care.
there was a conversation that requested a meeting with other hospitals, but that wasn't part of that motion. That was just an additional request.
Okay, thank you.
Coordinated care, not continuum of care.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson, are you done, Commissioner Epperson?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Commissioner Jackson may be right. Maybe our staff was busy doing something with the parish zoning, and that's why this didn't get written correctly. But we're here today. I know Ms. Janelle's here, and we have everything in place with exactly what Commissioner Jackson said is what came out of that committee meeting. I was the chairman, and I know they have reached out to their hospitals, and they're waiting the letters of support. I really don't see a need to postpone this and push it on if we're all in support, so that they can work forward on getting more donations and getting this done for the people of Caddo Parish. I think this is an advantageous development and an investment for our community. So I'll be voting no on the postponement and hope that you support passing this today. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Johnson.
I just gonna say that, based on whatever we do, they still need to go out and get funds. So this is not gonna stop them from going out and getting funds to help build the Ronald McDonald House. But we need to have our stuff right, because if what came out of the committee meeting is not on the sheet that we're voting upon, we don't need to vote upon. That's what I was leading to earlier. But, y'all, I just want y'all to be consistent.
Okay, I think, all right, so there's no one on the board.
Now you do.
All right, Commissioner Burrell.
The only thing I'm saying, if it's not time sensitive, Mr. Chairman, we have time to make sure this is right. This is a very important development, and from the beginning, there was a lot of pros and cons to it, and we've gotten it to the point where we're almost there, so I wouldn't take the opportunity to spoil something, since we do have time to get it straight. So that's just my input, sir.
Well, if I may take a presidential privilege and say, I'd rather delay this and get it right and get as many people to support it as possible than rush it and have it fail.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
So I think we are ready to vote on Commissioner Epperson's motion to delay to the next work session.
No, what, regular session.
Regular session.
What else? What?
Regular session.
Regular session.
Regular session, thank you, the next regular session. Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that passes with eight in support and 2 in opposition, 0 abstentions and 2 absence.
All right, let me, Mr. Clerk, if I may have a moment. Ms. Mason, thank you so much for coming down here multiple times. I don't want you to feel compelled to come down here from Little Rock every time. You've certainly shared with us your thoughts. You're always welcome, but don't feel compelled to have to make the trip every time. Thank you. All right, Mr. Clerk, we're ready.
Mr. President.
Yes, Attorney, I think Commissioner Jackson's on first.
I'll yield to Attorney Frazier.
No,
Attorney Frazier?
I just had a question since this occurred while I was out. Was this ordinance, as it is on the agenda, considered by the committee, or was there an ordinance at the time that the committee met?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Matter of fact, we didn't have enough vote to take it out of committee.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yeah, to be more specific to Attorney Frazier's question, it came to the body and then the body remanded it to committee. And we did that dual committee referral and introduction. So that's why you see it as it is. But when we had it in committee, there were some amendments made, and those amendments have not been reflected in. They should have been attached, or at least the minutes should have been attached. So I think that's all that's missing is that little piece there. So.
Right,
I will clarify.
The ordinance
If
itself.
I may
would not have
clarify
changed.
Commissioner Jackson's statement.
Yes.
There was a meeting of the Economic Development Committee.
Couldn't get a quorum.
First, that did not have a quorum.
Right.
Then it came to the full body from that group, of that non-quorum group, and then it was sent by the
Right.
full body to the committee where these amendments were made.
Right.
Okay, and so that's what I want to clarify, that the ordinance itself would not reflect the committee changes.
Right.
And so that those should have been attached to,
Right.
to be included.
So it'll never be in the legislation. That's what Henry said.
It will be in the legislation after you
After we
all
approve
amend
it.
it.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Those will be attached in a form for amendment, will be attached for the next agenda.
Okay.
Right. So they'll never be in the body.
I see.
Never.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Johnson?
I still would like to have that meeting with those other hospitals. I don't know how it slipped last time, but I still would like to have that meeting with the other hospitals.
You're envisioning the commission calls a meeting of those hospitals, or?
No, I'm asking Dr. Wilson to set up a meeting with the other hospitals.
I guess he'd have to work with Janelle to do that since it's their deal.
No, I mean, he can call and we can talk about the Ronald McDonald House
Okay.
with the other hospitals. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. I think would that be a committee or Dr. Wilson?
If anybody else want to sit in that meeting with me, that's fine.
I'm just getting some clarification.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with the meeting. I just want to.
Yeah, I just want to basically sit at the table with the other hospitals, and they tell me either they support it, they don't, they gonna put some money to it, they not. I want to hear that.
Okay. So, Dr. Wilson, if you could set that meeting up on behalf of Commissioner Johnson, and then and please invite all commissioners who are interested to attend. All right. All right, Mr. Clerk, let's continue on.
That brings us to ordinance 6250 of 2022, and that is an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication for an unnamed road in the parish of Caddo and otherwise providing with respect thereto. This road is in District 11.
Move to adopt.
Second. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hopkins, a second by Commissioner Young to adopt. Who was that?
It was Mr. Lazarus, I do believe.
It came on this
It's
side.
my district.
Sorry, I had my face down
That's all
in my
right.
document. We had a motion by Commissioner Lazarus, a second by Commissioner Young, was it?
It was Johnson.
To adopt. Okay. Anybody on the board? Commissioner Jackson?
I think my what's the name messed up.
All right. Anybody else on the board? All right. We're ready to vote?
Yes.
I be ready to vote. I just heard it.
And that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to zoning ordinances for introduction by title. We have one item in this section today, and that is to introduce ordinance number 6253 of 2022. That's in relation to case number 2215-P. It's an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located south side of Mount Zion Road, approximately 600 feet east of Linwood Avenue in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural Zoning District to I-1 Light Industrial Zoning District, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto, that is in District 10. That brings us now then to section 16, which is ordinances for introduction by title, where you do have a few items today. The first being introduction of ordinance number 6251 of 2022. That's an ordinance to amend ordinance number 6200 of 2022 relative to a parish planning and zoning commission to provide for its permanent status and membership, to provide for its authority, and to remove the termination date and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And that comes from the Long Range Planning Committee. The next item is to introduce ordinance number 6252 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2022 to appropriate funds received from the U.S. Treasury and the amount of $1,207,096 for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And that comes from Finance Commissioners Jackson and Burrell. And then the next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6254 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Oil and Gas Fund to appropriate funds for a remembrance garden at the Caddo Parish Courthouse and to otherwise provide with respect thereto, from Commissioner Johnson. And finally, in this section today, we have the introduction of ordinance number 6255 of 2022. That's an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication for an unnamed road in the parish of Caddo and otherwise provide with respect thereto. This item is in District 1. And that brings us to work session minutes. Your work session minutes from the 8:15 work session are attached.
Second.
A motion from Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to approve, a second from Commissioner Lazarus to approve those work session minutes. Let's vote, please.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to resolutions today, where we have several items. Our first is resolution number 39 of 2022. That's a resolution adopting a citizen participation plan.
Move to adopt resolution 39.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Johnson to adopt resolution number 39, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Let's vote, please. Do you have to care to comment?
No, I don't.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Jackson, are you on?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. And, I think it's befitting that this would be called the Citizens Participation Plan. I've heard a lot of citizens' comments today about water in Greenwood. I think they fund a lot of those water projects through this LCDBG program. And I really, really think that whatever that issue is going on with the Greenwood water situation, not to step into anybody else's district, but if there's a water issue going on out there, I really do think that, now I see us pointing to Greenwood. I know they're there, but I think we can apply on their behalf because they meet the size requirements, and so.
So I think you can apply on your own.
Well, they can apply, but we can also do a joint application, is what I'm saying. And I think, you know, anytime that the state sees that level of cooperation and collaboration amongst the municipalities, the governing authorities, you know, that's always better to have. So I get that they can apply on their own. What I'm saying is those dollars are directly to the state and can come to the municipality. So whatever we can do, whether we apply, whether they apply, this is a pool of dollars. I don't even know what our LCDBG dollars are going toward. But I know water projects are always funded out of this LCDBG.
The parameters have changed a little bit.
Okay, I'm all ears. I'll
Yeah.
reserve some time, Mr. President.
Okay,
I think Dr. Wilson had something to tell me.
go ahead, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, Commissioner Jackson, you actually checked on us
Yes,
the last
sir.
time. We did, and our grants coordinator checked for me, and she said, unfortunately, this is not a focus of the area of the LBCG, and you asked me about the storm damage repair stuff, and she said that for the 2023 LCBG process, they're only accepting applications for street improvements. They're not accepting applications
For
for
water.
sewer,
Okay.
water,
Okay.
system, none of that stuff.
Well, thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner.
When they are, I hope we would apply.
We do.
Thank you.
Commissioner Epperson.
I've noticed with NACO, a lot of those counties are getting grants through the LCDGB, block grants for homeless. So that wouldn't be an aspect of it. And even though municipalities can apply for grants for different projects, throughout my tenure here, we basically always, if they applied for a grant, we've always done a resolution in support of it,
Yes,
which
sir.
we thought would enhance whatever
Yes.
grants they are applying for.
Yes, sir, and we will continue to do resolutions of support, Commissioner Epperson. You know, we do a public hearing, we go through the whole requirements, criteria in administrating this program. But they have specific inputs that they're looking for as the years go on. It's a biannual deal anyway. It's not every year. And they have specific focus. For 2023, the focus is going to be on streets and roads. They're not going to be accepting water projects, sewer projects, and those things. So they change from time to time.
Okay.
But we'll have to go through a public process, and it's a competitive bid process as well. Whatever municipality want to apply, they can apply, but it could be on a competitive basis. And you all will have to select the final project.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I just had a question. It stated that there had to be a citizen participation plan to meet the citizen participation requirements from 1974, but that we're doing it now. So I had two questions. Is what were we doing before this year? And who will be on this board? How do we decide which citizens will make up this board?
Citizen participation board? It's not a board, it's a process.
For the citizens to participate.
Yeah.
Well, then, which citizens, like, how are we going to disseminate the information to the citizens?
You're going to have a public hearing, it's going to be on your agenda. Any municipality could apply for whatever they think they qualify for. And the more they put into it, the more points they get, the better candidacy they will have. And then that will be brought to you all and say, these are all the municipalities that apply for this particular grant. And then you all have to give your blessing to it and a resolution of support.
Right.
But it's a public process, and then it's not an individual can apply for it, it's just a municipality.
Or a water board or a sewer board.
Yes, a water board, that sewer board, but not this particular funding cycle.
Thank you, President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Jackson, is this your second time?
Yes,
All right,
yes.
May I take Commissioner Hopkins first?
Oh, absolutely. That's the rule.
Let me just say that the municipalities apply for LCDBGs on their own.
Right, all the time.
We apply for fire districts, water districts, sewer districts.
Right.
They have their own money. That's not part of our group. So, at time from time, there's roads. We do the roads So we might be in a municipality doing one, but that's totally separate of our LCDBG grants are for sewer and water and fire districts. That's what they are for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, Dr. Wilson, I would encourage you to get the grant administrator, because I'm looking, get with the grant, because I'm looking at the application here right now for 2023 public facilities, and it says, and I quote, so if I'm speaking, it says, based on the results of the survey and the current amount of funding that is available for sewer and water improvements throughout the state, OCD LGA has determined that street improvements will be the priority.
Right.
So it didn't say that they're not gonna fund it. It just says that streets will be the priority. And there's a difference there. So I'm going back to my ask, is that we would encourage, do whatever we need to do to help the folks in Greenwood with this water situation through this program. Now, I know Ken Ward may take my request and throw it out the window, but I'm gonna ask right here today.
He wouldn't do that.
Well, he always, I ain't seen him come down here and bring no sheet of paper down here lately. I still ain't got no apology for that. You know, he does whatever he wanna do. So can you please ask him to help these folks with the water? That's a serious concern. And I'm looking at the application. Applications are due November 21st, 2022. Yeah. So, and they have a section here where they talk about potable water, treatment, water treatment. So obviously they will take a look at this. All public facility projects, water, sewer, gas, etc., will be designed so that there will be no displacement of any residences or business. So they have at least an intent to do those type of projects. So if you would please, I'm asking if we could please just look at that. I'm looking on page 14 as well, where it also says miscellaneous items that are eligible, but are not limited to curb and gutter sections, crack relief layers, leveling courses, pavement, widening, reshaping, that's manholes, water valves. So, you know, obviously they have an intention to do something beyond just pave some streets. So, under eligible activity. So, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. I think, I see no one else on the board. I think we're ready to vote on this. All right, let's please vote.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us to resolution number 40 of 2022. That's a resolution to urge and request the Louisiana Legislature to amend Louisiana Revised Statutes 33-172 to include special provisions applicable to Caddo Parish and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Epperson, a second by Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Epperson, would you like to comment?
Yes, sir. We've heard a lot of discussion today. We've heard the attorney for the town of Greenwood come down and speak. We've heard the company, the individual that was the impetus of this annexation by the town of Greenwood. Mr. Bart Little speak, after which he had gone through the process of the parish, which was rejected by the citizens, and basically utilized this effort to circumvent the wills of the citizens. And one thing we need to bear in mind, this is almost a 50-acre tract that's located less than 150 feet from some of the largest and nicest homes that you can have. All kind of trucks and things of that nature over that's there. It would have been a moral and a righteous effort, once this process was put in place, that whomever was in charge of this process with the town of Greenwood would, out of common courtesy, just come over and let the people know within that area, and especially the elected officials. Of course, there's a process in place. However, there are processes that's been in place, and they've changed throughout the years. And that's what we do. We continuously improve. Ms. Bear made a valid point when we got the information. They had a little old bitty sign, I think, that was placed up at the gate of the said property that you could not see unless you just happened to go in there and get out of your vehicle and bend down and stoop and look at it. That was publicizing what was going on. Now, surely the town of Greenwood put signs right in front of our subdivisions when they are advertising the Pioneers Parade, big large signs right in front of Calderwood. When they had the annual Easter egg hunt or any other ventures that they have that they want us to participate in. So it was the process, and it's simple the thing. We're just asking that notification letters will be sent within 1,500-foot radius of the proposed property to be annexed. The signs would be a minimum of 24 by 24. We had the same situation that arose. Some of you may have been here when they tried to get the dog training facility in the Oak Park area, Oak Creek area, located between Shirley Francis Road and Highway 169. Little small signs blown over by trucks. It gave the appearance that no one wanted people to be aware of what was going on. There was also an effort that mentioned that they was going to use the tactic of annexing that particular area. But the citizens found out about it, and that was quickly abated. Property to be annexed should have registered voters on it. That's a drastic change. Even though that particular property did not have anyone living there, no one living there. However, out of common courtesy and respect, less than 60 feet across from that property, you have all those nice homes that's in place, and they did not give those people the common courtesy of letting them know what was going on. So this isn't anything that's going to be so detrimental as we always hear. Anything you do is hindering business. Everything. What about the citizens? The citizens are the backbone. The residents are the backbone of our towns and our parishes. Businesses come and go. They'll come in with a lot of junk on paper and tell you and promise you anything. In 2 or 3 years, they're gone, bankrupt, out of business, or sell for somebody and they downside. And then what we left with? We left with nothing. Plain common sense request to ask the people that put these processes in place. It's a point in time when this was put in place that it's time to look at it and reevaluate it. I think I heard did I hear one of the mayors say that you cannot, you can't annex anything around I-49? Is that true within this request? Or does this stop annexation?
It could be, yes.
No.
Ms. Frazier?
Commissioner, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis based on the municipality. It doesn't stop annexation, but I think what he's getting at is the businesses or whomever wants to be annexed may find these things to be obstacles to applying.
May find it to be what now?
Obstacles.
Optical?
Yes.
Okay.
An obstacle.
An obstacle, okay. Well, we can always hop over an obstacle, jump around it, or dig under it. So those things can be worked out. However, I don't think there's anything that's going to be a great hindrance. I think what has happened here with the process, what happened with this annexation by the town of Greenwood has opened up some situations that should be looked at and should be changed out of fairness on behalf of the citizens. And I ask for your vote and your support in reference to this resolution, a request.
I think I'll have a chance to reply.
No.
He addressed me personally.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes,
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, there's 11 municipalities in this parish. 9 of them sit in District 1. And this resolution is problematic One, you can slow down any kind of growth. They are doing everything in the world they can to try to grow North Caddo Parish and grow the tax base for this parish. You know, we don't need to be sending people back over to Texas and down to DeSoto Parish and over to Bossier. We need to be encouraging. This resolution right here says property to be annexed must have residents residing on it, registered voters residing on it. Look at all the land developers just around Blanchard. They're doing acre after acre of development and being annexed. There's a reason they're being annexed. Water and to get out of the MPC. That's the reason. I mean, let's just be real truthful about it. Oh, this is just a resolution. Let me tell you what this resolution does. We pass it today, and then the commissioner, whoever legislature they want to go to, takes this to next session, gets this bill going, and they go into committee and they say, how does the local body feel about it? Oh, we've got their support. It's a local bill. Nobody asks another question, and we're going to hurt everybody, every other municipality in this parish. Vote no, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, let's vote, please.
All right, that motion fails with a 5-5 vote, 5 in favor, 5 in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to the next item, which is resolution number 41 of 2022. That's a resolution to urge and request the town of Greenwood to form its Citizens Advisory Board to review and make recommendations regarding water issues with the town's water system and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move for adoption.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Epperson, a second by Commissioner Johnson to move for adoption. Commissioner Epperson, would you care to comment?
Yes, sir. Let us not forget how important water is. Water is God's gift. The Bible mentions water 722 times, more than faith, hope, prayer, and worship. It starts out with water. Genesis, the 1st chapter, the 2nd verse. And it basically ends up in Revelation. Revelations 22 and 17. I've heard people state that we opening up a can of worms, we're getting in the wrong business, dipping in municipalities' business about an issue, but water is so precious. We have helped municipal areas out with water before. In 2014, in the 71106 area, the drought had gotten to a point as to where the wells was pumping mud. The parish provided funding to help with pipes and tie into city water and abate those situations that those people was going through. The town of Greenwood has had a number of issues with water. I've been there for 19 years, and ever since I've been there. You heard Ms. Murray been there for 31 years. You've heard Ms. Moore. You've heard others. Well, I went to the mayor's office, and we was talking about the water, and they gave me some pellets to drop into the back of our toilet bowls to abate the discoloration. Some kind of pellets. And I heard people say that we have given funds to Greenwood to help with their water system before. Always have been helpful. But my issue is, why wouldn't you want someone to have scrutiny over a service that you're providing to them that they are paying for, and there are always issues? Why wouldn't you welcome someone to give some insight and some input that you may not have in place? as the saying go, the sum of many is greater than the sum of a few. It's always good to have a lot more ideas than it is to have a few and come up with a better solution. This isn't a hard ask. If there aren't any issues as far as not having any scrutiny relative to the water situations and the issues that they've been having, then I see no reason why they should oppose it. And when you look at the background of issues, you can Google Channel 3, ktbstv.com, kslatv.com, ktaltv.com homepage, and you will see a wealth of issues when you put in Greenwood, town of Greenwood water issues. In 2016, Ecali was in the water. Always a ball bank. So the point is that we would ask that you would vote in favor of this resolution and just ask them to form a citizens advisory committee of individuals that are under the auspices of using their water and paying for their water. And think it'll make it transparent to all and make for some improvements down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Dr. Wilson, we just talked about this CDBG grant program. Is that something that could allocate funds for the Greenwood water system that we could help them apply for next year?
Yes.
And I guess my question is, I saw Ken left. I was going to ask him. Yeah, I see Tim. I don't see Ken, but I mean Tim may know.
Yeah.
If this has been such an ongoing issue for so long, and Greenwood, I don't think they've spoke on the counter. We had a lot of people come down here and speak on having poor water. Obviously, I only know one person lives in Greenwood besides former Commissioner Cox. So I called my parents, and they said their water's fine. But if Commissioner Epperson's saying this many people have poor water quality out there, has Tim or Ken researched this? Do they have any answers on the duration or why this is? I understand when there's an ice storm and there's frozen pipes, of course, some people didn't have water after the ice storm. Nobody had water. But if this has been going on for a decade, I mean, who's researching this? Who's responsible? Is it the state of Louisiana?
Yes, DHH monitors the water quality and DEQ for the state of Louisiana.
I mean,
it wouldn't be a parish function, Commissioner Chavez. I mean, we have the health department monitors the quality of drinking water for our community.
I know Caddo Parish is not responsible ultimately, that the Greenwood is responsible for their water, but then the state supersedes that, and they're here.
Yes, sir.
So
they're
maybe if it's okay with the commissioners to have this question answered by somebody from Greenwood is how long has this been going on, and is there a plan to fix it? I mean, we can pass this resolution and it's going to say that, hey, we would like to see y'all put together a citizen board, but they don't have to do that. Just kind of like what Todd said, that's a different scenario where if it goes down legislative, someone's going to say that we voted to pass it, and then they'll vote on that and change the laws when it comes to annexation. This is a little bit different where Greenwood will just take it and say, we choose not to do that, and then not do anything. So if they have a plan in place, or if there's something they're actually working on that we don't know about, or why has this been going on for so long, because a lot of people came here to speak on it, should we give them the opportunity to speak on the counter to what everybody else said?
Commissioner, you can ask a question of anybody you'd like.
Would that be
But I'd ask you not to let it derail us for too long.
Greenwood, would you like to speak on Commissioner Epperson's?
Yes, I guess one of the things that we heard about that would be most important in my mind if I was in your seat would be this idea that there's some type of danger to the citizens, and that just is not accurate. There's been no violations for bacteria or microbes in at least the last 13 years in that water system. So some suggestion that this is a dangerous product that you cannot use, those are not the violations that they just came up. The violations that came up here in the last couple months concerned LDH testing of the end of the line of some water systems. And so anybody that's had a pool or a hot tub or read about drinking water understands that you have chlorine evaporation issues. These are dead-end lines that aren't used. And they test, I think, 13 sites or so. They test 13 different sites. And the violation for 1 month was at the end of one of these dead ends. And then the violation, two violations another month were at the end of one of these dead ends. So they pulled water from the end of the pipe without letting it run. So it was old water, so there was not chlorine in it at the end of the dead end line. And so when they tested it, the chlorine levels weren't at the levels they should have been. But their procedures, we've discussed this with LDH, and their procedures have been amended now to run the water so you have a current water system test. And we just got the last water system test today, and there were no violations. So the two violations that are at all recent just have to do with testing chlorine at dead-end lines and their water testing people not letting the water run to get an accurate test result. So those are the recent violations. Anybody that came from a number of these subdivisions that were complaining about anything that's happened in any time recently in months, I think didn't understand they weren't even on our water system. We've been low, and we had to switch to a supplemental water supply, which is Shreveport. And Timberline and some of these other subdivisions haven't even been on our water in 3 months because we're a surface water system and there's evaporation and heat, and we're just running low. And that's what happened with the magnesium at the bottom of the tank, the brown water. It's not a danger issue. It may be concerning if you don't understand water, but it is not a health issue. It's not a safety issue. I could understand if you were not someone who had a great understanding of water systems, how that could be concerning of you. We got no violation from LDH, which is the government body tasked with ensuring clean, healthy drinking water. There was no violation for that. It's just a buildup of minerals that happens at the bottom of a tank system. And when you have a change in pressures, which we had because of the heat, it causes sediment to get dislodged that has built up in pipes or tanks. And so that's not an unusual occurrence. We didn't get any violation for that because it's not a health or safety issue. It would be an optics issue. It would be concerning. And I could understand if you're not trained in water systems or educated in it, how you could be concerned. But that, it was not a violation, and from LDH's point of view, it's not.
I think we've got that. Thank you.
I guess the only question I have is, the people that came, why do they believe they're on Greenwood water system? Are they getting a water bill from Greenwood, or are they actually on Shreveport's water and they're using Shreveport water?
They're on our system, but like the last 3 months or so, if they've had any complaints or issues, all the water systems around here, they're designed that if your water system can't produce enough water, and we can't right now, that we shift over to a supplemental water system. And so that, like Timberline subdivision, they get water from Shreveport right now. We have to pay for it. They get a Greenwood bill, but they're not even getting our water right now. They shift over to a supplemental supply system. It happens in Bossier. It happens all over. When you can't produce enough water, you have to have an emergency system in place. And right now, they're on Shreveport water. We pay Shreveport for the water. They pay us, but they're on Shreveport water right now because we just didn't have the capacity to produce water because of the evaporation issues and heat.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, President.
I think Commissioner Burrell may have a question for you, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Yes, Commissioner Burrell.
Well, let me just ask you this simple question, because I'm hearing the residents coming in and complaining about brown water. So if I draw up a glass of brown water, you feel comfortable drinking it?
No, I said I understood why they were concerned, and that's one of the reasons we had a water quality expert at the August 11th meeting to explain the issues to them.
But you were saying that the brown water was not a danger to them, but yet and still you wouldn't drink it.
No, I said I understood why they're concerned, but to be clear, it is not a health risk. I understand the optics of it and why somebody would not want to drink it, but it was not a health risk. I mean, that's what the Louisiana Department of Health says, sir.
Let me add something there. Perception is 80% of reality. So if there's an issue where the residents feel that they are in danger of drinking something that they don't even understand, I think it's incumbent upon you all to clear that up.
I understand that, sir. And again, we had a 2.5-hour meeting just a week ago or so to explain to any resident who wanted to come ask questions what the nature of the magnesium was. I mean, that it is a mineral buildup that when you have stresses on the system can sometimes break loose. It's not an uncommon problem,
Well, do you all
and it's
have
unfortunate.
plans? Do you all have plans to eliminate it because the perception is still there?
I mean, the 15 or 20 people that were at the meeting that day, we explained all that. I mean, I passed out cards to everyone here that expressed concerns and encouraged them to contact our town clerk with their concerns so they could be advised of it.
You have not answered my question. You may not have the answer to it.
She's the attorney. She's not
I understand that, but she's the one here representing. I would rather have the mayor, but the mayor is not here, I assume, or is it?
Mayor Pro Tem is here and the town's clerk's here.
Mayor Pro Tem, you hear my question. If you have residents coming to you complaining about brown water,
I guess you'll have to come to the podium, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
if you have residents coming to you complaining to you about brown water, that they don't want to drink brown water, and they ask you to drink that brown water, then you have an issue in your town with your residents. Do you have any plans to correct that situation?
We've been working on it ever since we started having problems with the brown water.
So it's only been a few months or something, is what I'm hearing?
No, we have it periodically sometimes. It's not all the time by any means. Occasionally we have some. Sometimes it gets a little tinted. This time it was a little more darker, I guess, than it's been being. We actually have a contract guy that comes in for us. He's, according to our engineers, he's one of the best in the state. He's been working on improvements on our plant. We have 2 other contract guys that have been helping us work. And yes, we're working very hard, spending money to make sure we're getting good quality water. And we try to notify people the best that we can. We put in an informational line, like Ms. McKay said. People can call if there's a problem. And we've advertised that on Facebook. I'm not for sure, but I think it's been on some of our water bills that went out. We sent out informing the citizens that we have an information line they can call, and they can find out a lot of stuff about the water. If there's a water issue, any kind of town events we have. Veronica, our town clerk, has told the people in the meeting the other day that she will give them her personal cell phone number that they can call her anytime. I've told folks they can call me if we have a water issue. I've been out there at night trying to help with, not that I'm a water person, but, labor-wise, if I could help those guys.
Well, I'm just concerned, I don't want to prolong this, that if you got those kind of issues and they're bringing them to us, if you have those kind of issues, or should I say the residents have those kind of issues, that just happened to be a handful of people who were there, but I'm sure that there are others have the same situation, they're just not here, that you all can try to resolve.
I don't want to take us down too far.
Yeah, that you all would try to resolve.
Well, we're trying hard, but we had a lot of folks not a lot, we had, I say quite a few folks that called during that time, said they didn't have any issues with the water. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
Commissioner Epson, thank you.
I'll yield to someone that hadn't spoken.
That was what I was going to ask. Commissioner Jackson, have you spoken on this issue yet?
No, sir. I actually wanted to. I heard earlier where they said that and this is a question to administration or whoever can answer. They said that there was and I remember we approved some funds for some improvements in the water lines or whatever, but they said that no funds have been received, no cooperative endeavor has been done, but that's been quite a while since I'm sorry, am I off subject? I apologize. It's for administration. Is there a reason why it hadn't been done? Or?
Yes, sir. I believe that the attorney stated that project was put in for them, They have not contacted us for the CEA, anything like that, to move
Oh,
forward with the
okay.
project.
We don't need. yeah,
We good.
Yeah, so they have not contacted us with the CEA yet for the
So,
project.
so it sounds like we just need to, I guess with the
You-
attorneys being here today.
You appropriate money
Okay.
that, you know, it was for the extension of the system.
Mhm.
We've never got any details about what that work
Gotcha.
entailed, and it was never CEA done.
Gotcha.
To expedite the process of the
Gotcha.
money.
So is that something that y'all could work on?
Yes, so the money is still,
Make-
the money's still available.
Okay, did we put it in capital outlay or did we
Yes.
put it? So it's
Yes.
still,
It's still there.
and so the next steps in that would be,
To complete the CEA process, make the request for the funds and tell
Okay.
us the process, what they're gonna use it for, and
Okay.
as long as it's in agreement with what was passed,
Mhm.
and then the legal team will codify that and we'll move forward.
gotcha, okay. Yeah, I would, and again, I'm not stepping on Commissioner Epperson's toes, because this is in his area. He's an advocate for Greenwood, and I'm for supporting the people in Greenwood. And, you know, it's a concern to see, you know, I saw the situation in Flint, Michigan, where, you know, and I'm not comparing it to Flint, but anytime you have something that is coming out of your faucet that is not what you think it should be, you know, that's a concern, because people are ingesting it and all that other. So it's a real concern, and I thought that we have been good partners in that. And so I hope that we could do, since they are here today, maybe Ms. Bryan or Attorney Frazier or whomever could be that conduit, we could work to bridge those gaps today and try to go ahead and get that done. Could this be done? And I'm just asking if it can't. Could this be done under an emergency agreement where we could kind of expedite the work, since it's public drinking water?
Jackson, could I give you a point of information on
I'm
that?
sorry. Okay, I apologize.
Those allocations were not for what we are dealing with now.
Gotcha.
That's specific, so I'm handling that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
So that wouldn't resolve the issue now anyway.
No, sir.
Gotcha. If you had just said that up front, I'd have been done with it. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you.
It sounds like they need.
Commissioner Johnson, then we'll get to Commissioner Epperson.
Thank you. Well, it seems like there's a problem, because I just heard the attorney say that they on emergency water, which is actually utilized in Shreveport water. And then it kind of goes back to, why would you annex into your city more businesses or residential areas when you already got problems? You got infrastructure problems. So to me, I mean, that's just been a lot of towns, cities. Problem is the greed of annexation, but then not having the infrastructure to support it. So, you know, I think that they need to get the water situation right before you even try to annex anything. So it kind of goes back to what we just talked about in the previous resolution, but it all goes together. But there is a problem, because they're on emergency water right now to certain areas. That's all I had.
Okay,
That's just a
thank-
point to everybody to hear and listen to.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Epperson.
Okay, I think what we've heard thus far, just give credence to my resolution. My water bill for this month, they said, this is why we need communication. No one knew what water we was on until the story broke. We had no idea. My water bill is $50.35. I had a $7 credit from last month. And you know what the information line on the water bill is? Head Start program. Yes, please, survey in office. If we having issues with water, it appears to me as though something on this water bill should be relative to that. So communications is the issue. People are paying, don't care where they're getting it from, but we want factual information. And why would any entity be against having citizens to offer some support on behalf of an issue that affects us all, unless there are some underlying causes that they don't want people to know about, plain and simple. We got a juvenile justice citizen committee we got in place to address the $4 million deficit that we are going through. We got all kind of other committees, broadband committee to study that, citizens committee. Don't want the citizens to have a say and find out about clean drinking water in America today. Something's wrong with that. Somebody's hiding something. I don't understand. I ask for your support on this, and if they reject it, we'll just know what to do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Okay, no one else on the board. I think we're ready to vote. Mr. Clerk?
All right, and that motion carries with 7 in support and 3 in opposition and 2 absent. That brings us now to the final item in this. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait,
We're now in.
I'm sorry, that brings us to new business. I had a note to add, there was an item that was added during agenda additions, but that's at the end of new business, not at the beginning. So that brings us into new business, where our first item is the North Caddo Hospital Service District reappointment. And that's a reappointment of Patricia White to the North Caddo Hospital Service District.
Move to reappoint.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hopkins, a second by Commissioner Burrell to appoint Ms. White. Any comments, Commissioner?
No.
All right, we're ready to vote?
No. I would like to
Commissioner Johnson, I'm
englobe
sorry.
that one along with the Black Bayou Watershed appointment.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat that, please?
I want to take to englobo the North Caddo Hospital Service District appointment and the Black Bayou Watershed reappointment.
Okay, we have a motion to.
Englobo and adopt.
Englobo and adopt the appointment of the North Caddo Hospital Service and the Black Bayou Watershed reappointments. That was seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts. Any comments, Commissioner?
No.
Okay, we're ready to vote.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jackson?
I'd like to go ahead and add the action item for the game that we added.
Second.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. You'd like to do what?
To add the action item for the game that
okay.
we've added on there.
Okay. And Commissioner, all right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Jackson to add that third item, the agenda extension item onto it, seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Commissioner Jackson, did you have a comment on that?
No, I would just, because I heard something about the promoters or something, I would just make sure that, ask staff that we follow whatever that Treasury guidance is. I do believe that if it's going from one public body to another public body, it's much quicker. It can move much quicker and faster. So that would be the concern there, but I'm sure y'all would do your due diligence. And I don't even know who the applicant would be, because somebody would have to apply for it, right? So, okay.
Okay, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson, you had something?
Yes, sir. Okay, on the Black Bayou Watershed reappointments and the Caddo Hospital Service District appointment. Now, these individuals, what do they do?
They each, like North Caddo Hospital District, there's a board of 7. They have a board that takes care of the hospital, their finance board. I mean, they take care of the whole district.
Provide information to the major, to the organizations, to the people that run it.
Yeah, they do.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Same with the watershed?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Epperson. I think are we ready to vote? Is it? All right, let's vote.
And to be clear, this vote is to, because I know that Commissioner Jackson made the motion to include the item that was added during the agenda additions, but I wasn't clear if that was accepted as a friendly amendment, and we're voting on the passage.
Yes, it was accepted.
Yes, it was accepted as a friendly.
That's what I thought. Yeah, okay, good. So then, before you right now, you have the motion to englobo and adopt those 3 items, the 2 reappointments and the allocation of the funding towards the Grambling Northwestern.
Yes.
Yes, sir. All
Put
right,
me
are we
down
ready?
as a sponsor on the Grambling. That's my alumni.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's vote, please.
And that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to 20.3, which is a discussion of the NACO initiative, Operation Greenlight.
Commissioner Epperson, how would you like to handle
Yes,
item?
sir. I just want to explain it to everyone. Operation Greenlight is an initiative of NACO, which we are members of. I'm on the Military and Veterans Steering Committee. Operation Greenlight this year is going to designate November the 7th through the 13th, that we are going to ask all governmental buildings to do green lighting of their facilities. And we're also going to ask all of our citizens to get green light bulbs to go in their outdoor lighting, so we can highlight the issues that are involving veterans benefits, such as the high suicide rate, PTSD, and better benefits for our veterans. We're also going to incorporate into our Veteran Celebration Committee, which we have not had our honor ceremony and our parade for the last 2 years due to COVID. And if it's God's will, November the 12th, we will be doing our Veterans Honor Ceremony. This year, we're moving it to the Municipal Auditorium on Elvis Presley Boulevard. And our parade will be Sunday, November the 13th, 2:00 p.m. at the Louisiana State Fairground. And we're going to do all these in conjunction with NACO. I will be addressing all the local municipalities as to this initiative as far as the green lighting and what we'll be doing on behalf of our veterans this year. So that's what I wanted to let you all know on Operation Greenlight.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Epperson. We might as well move on to item 20.
Okay, the item 20, discussion of orphan oil and gas wells in Louisiana. Some of you may remember Commissioner Burrell, we had started, I think, on our, I forget what that initiative was, about the oil and gas drilling issue. Ms. Nation, do you have that video in place?
Give me a minute.
Okay. If not, I tell you what, in lieu of time, would you email that to each of the commissioners? And if there's anyone in the audience that would like it, of course, it'll be in our official minutes. But in other words, we just want to let you all know that monies are coming down now to deal with the orphan gas wells, which Louisiana is, I think, 4th in the nation with orphan gas wells. Oil and gas wells. And we want to make sure that we're in on that funding. And we ask the administration to find out if there are any entities within Caddo Parish that will be doing this type of work, so we can make sure that we get in on that. And go to next, Mr. President. Okay, discussion of proposed settle-in village in Bethany, Louisiana. I thank those that stayed here so long, but I'm glad that you have an opportunity to see the process as to what goes on down here. A lot of times, as I've met with some of you, you think everything is easy, and because you think it'll go that way, it's just not that way. And you know what I always say, I'll believe it when I see it, once I see those numbers up on that board. However, we heard from Ms. Mayberry, she's still here. We've heard from individuals that are in the community. So what I proposed, I gave a copy of the letter to administration and all the commissioners. We'd like to get some answers relative to these questions. And Ms. Mayberry and the persons here with interest on this particular facility down within their area, I would like to sponsor a teleconference call for all of you on Thursday, August the 25th at 8:00 a.m. Please contact me for the call-in number and the access code. First of all, what we want to do is we want to get a dialogue going, find out exactly what's what, instead of so much he say, she say, and they say. Dr. Wilson and staff, you got the questions that I've heard thus far. And also, would Michelle, would you give, I think, Alan Clark with the MPC, maybe some questions on there. I don't know if Mr. Jeans still here, but we'll get information to him and get those answers to him. So that's where we are.
I think you may have.
I've not gotten any paperwork from you, Mr. Epperson.
What you mean about what now?
You said you had a piece of.
Oh, well, we got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just not receiving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And you know we had you know how to get in contact with me for the conference call. You heard me, right?
You wanted it at 8 o'clock on the 25th.
I'll get it to you. We won't go into details. I'll get it to you well enough in advance, okay? All right, Mr. Chairman, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson, and thank you for working to facilitate the differences between these parties. All right, Mr. Clerk, I think we're at citizens' comments, is that correct?
That brings us to communiques and
Ah.
committee reports, actually.
Any further communiques? Seeing none, oh, Vice President Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought somewhere we had an invitation for our lobbyists to be here. What happened? That fell off the agenda, or?
That's to the next agenda.
For the next
Next
meeting
work
forward.
session, I guess.
In your previous meeting, you postponed it to the following, you may have been thinking it was postponed to today, but it was postponed to your next work session.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And, all right, seeing no one else, that takes us to citizens' comments. Were there any late arrivals or citizens' comments?
I've not received any, but it looks like maybe we,
Pardon?
He's already spoken. He spoke earlier.
You can't speak twice?
No. Only for late arrivals.
Okay.
Move for adjournment.
Sorry, Mr. Little, I didn't know that. All right.
Okay.
We're adjourned.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Miss Undercott, you must have had a slow day today.